welcome. My name is Suzanne.
My name's Corey.
We are from Real Media. We're a collective of independent journalists who are dedicated to hearing the view from below. And today we are in London at the Trump Not Welcome March. We're standing on the streets near the offices of the BBC. This is a massive national protest that's been organised by a coalition of over 50 different groups. You can see some of them standing behind us. Different groups including Amnesty International, the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Jewish Socialist Voices, a lot of climate groups are here, and there is one very clear message that these groups are delivering, and that is that Donald Trump, who is currently on a state visit here in the UK, is not welcome on the streets of London and in the UK. Donald Trump returned for an unprecedented second state visit. He came during his first term and met with Queen Elizabeth, and now he is at Windsor Castle meeting with King Charles and his retinue. Traditionally, that state visit usually comes only in the second term, but now this is the second one. So, Corey, tell me a little bit more about who is present and how this march is organised today.
So this march is represented today by a range of seven key topics, which are Palestine, climate, amnesty, migrants' rights, Jewish, Ukrainian and Europe. So we're going to be hearing from a range of voices on why people came out of their day to join this protest.
Absolutely. So we're right here at Portland Place in front of the BBC. And we're in that gathering phase where everybody's coming together. There will be some speeches, there'll be some different organising, so we'll be showing you the wide range of people here and understanding what's made them, come out onto the streets on a rather blustery and grey Wednesday afternoon. There have been a lot of different things happening around the UK in protest of Trump's visit. Do you want to tell us about some of what you've heard going on, Corey?
So today, 17th of September, there's going to be a 10 p.m. Channel 4 broadcast called Trump versus the Truth, which is a reel of all the untruths that he has said in the last since taking office in January. And the infamous photo of Jeffrey Epstein with Donald Trump has been put over Windsor Castle as a reminder of some of the things that he's done recently.
Yes, seems to be a lot of controversy surrounds this president wherever he goes, and the Epstein controversy is certainly something that's really stuck. So a group called Led by Donkeys actually recorded a video which they purport, traces the history of Donald Trump's connection to Jeffrey Epstein, and projected that recording onto the walls of Windsor Castle last night, and 4 people are currently in custody with regards to that. I believe there were also some protests in Windsor yesterday.
I believe so, yes. There's been quite a movement and momentum with Trump currently in Britain right now.
So what's happening today is we've got a group of people, everybody gathering. We're going to be marching down towards Parliament Square, and there they've got a large rally planned. There are going to be various notables at it. Nish Kumar is going to be, I believe, the host of the ceremonies. There are speakers such as George Monbiot, Zara Sultana, who's broken off from the Labour Party and is in the process of forming a separate party together with Jeremy Corbyn. So we've got a really long day today of interest of all the different people gathering together and making their voices heard about this really important topic. And I think that this becomes maybe perhaps slightly more edgy or controversial given the events of the weekend. Do you want to tell us more about the weekend?
So this is really interesting to note that this protest is taking part in the same week as the ones we saw on Saturday with the far right marching through the streets of London. And what's interesting about that is it seems that American politics are having a direct influence here in the UK. Elon Musk, the US billionaire, addressed the far right march, and we saw people wearing MAGA hats, Make America Great Again hats on the streets of London. So it seems interesting that what's happening in the US is having direct implications here in the UK.
Yeah, and that, makes makes the people here rising up against Donald Trump, more interesting, that we've always had that special relationship, as it's so colloquially referred to, between the UK and the US. And you can probably hear from my accent, I'm from the US, Corey is also from the US, and so these links, these historical links between the US and UK are perhaps being amplified now with the far-right connections that are happening, but also then the really broad coalition of groups that have come together today to stand up against that. So there are some question marks here amongst the organisers of the rally, whether there will be any counter-protests, whether there might be some disruption by those newly emboldened far-right elements who are really opposed to what the messages that people are trying to give out today.
I'm taking a look around at the various placards we have. Shortly we'll be organising roughly into the key topics here today. And I'm seeing quite a range. There's some Trump-shaped balloons, let's say. And
do you remember the Trump baby from 4 years or 5 years ago?
Yes, that's very much alluding to that. We've got a lot of Palestinian flags. We have Stop Trump, Stop Fascism signs. It's shaping up to be a really interesting range of people who are obviously here for different topics.
Yeah, because again, we've got the Ukrainians who are here. There's a terrible war happening in Ukraine right now. Donald Trump has played perhaps an unclear role in the conflict in Ukraine. It's something that he promised to solve within days of taking office. Of course, he took office in January. That conflict is still very much going on. He's met with President Zelensky of Ukraine. He's also met with Putin, and his position seems to change on that. It's a rather intractable conflict that's been going on. So we're looking forward to later talking to some of the Ukrainians who are here or the supporters of Ukraine and hearing what they feel their messages towards Trump. You can see there's quite a lot of media bouncing around as well. This is quite the event that this is shaping up to be.
And shortly we'll find more people from the different key topics to talk to understand what their point of view is, why they're taking time out of their day to be here today. In the background you might be able to hear the rhythms behind us from the drummers, and it's shaping up to be can you see what this hat says? It's a bit of a spin-off on the MAGA hat. Not quite clear what it says. I'm seeing a lot of no to racism as well. So I'd imagine this might be for the migrant justice bloc. And I think it's quite clear that Trump has people who are experiencing dissent for his various policies on a range of topics.
Yes, and Donald Trump and some of his supporters have been really quite keen. Nigel Farage, for example, has talked about the lack of freedom of speech here in the UK. So this is an interesting expression of freedom of speech here so far with this march. Also the far-right march at the weekend, they say over 100,000 people marched and were able to do that. And here, just from this very, very broad coalition of people who have come onto the streets. So we'll be really curious to hear, what makes you come out onto the street? What makes you decide to stand up and take action? If you're watching us at home, you might be thinking, who are all those people who are marching? And that's what we really want to bring to you today. There's going to be a series of speeches. We're going to be doing lots of interviewing and give you a real flavour. If you can't be here at the march today, we want to give you the sense of what you've got coming. So thank you for joining us, and keep following the live stream for the march starting. But we're first going to go to some interviews and speeches.
Okay, I'm here today to demonstrate my displeasure, as a proud Englishman I'm allowed to do, at the fact that we are welcoming for the second time a tired old fascist and a known felon to our shores as part of a state visit. This is embarrassing, and I want to demonstrate that I'm unhappy about it as a citizen, as is my right. Why is this important? Well, this is a historic event, right? We've never had two state visits, particularly not for anyone quite so odious as President Trump. But we're going to do it anyway because we want his money or something, and we're just bending over for the fascists everywhere, and it's embarrassing, and I wanted to not be part of that, so I came here.
I'm from Newcastle today because I think it's important to protest Trump having been given a state visit for many reasons. He's a convicted felon, he's eroding women's rights, hence I'm dressed as the Handmaid's Tale. Trans rights, I mean, gay rights, I mean, where do you end? All those disgusting ICE raids. We do not want those values coming over here, so it's also why it's important to protest with the rise in reform who share some of those values. And I really disagree with him being given a state visit with all of that list I've just given you.
Hi, my name's Graham Ellis and I've come from Rye today to join this rally protesting Trump's visit. And I'm here because of all the damage that he's done to my family in particular. I was deported by Trump in 2017 after living in the United States for 35 years. Under previous presidents, I had no issue, no problem. But I was deported on the basis of an offense I had in the UK. I never committed any offenses in the US. And Trump, he just used any excuse he could to get people out. And it's devastated me, my wife, our kids, some of whom are 7,000 miles away. We can't get them into the UK because of the immigration rules here. It cost us over $10,000 to get my wife here. And life has just been hell. I had lived there for 35 years. I had my congresswoman stand up in Congress and make a speech saying I should not be deported because I was a community asset. I was a benefit to society, and quite frankly, none of Trump's people are interested in who we are. We're just numbers, and they just want to get us out of the country. And I feel for every single individual who gets deported, because it's not just them, it's their families that are ruined forever. It's a huge, crazy situation where good people are being forced out of the United States just because of this fascist dictator who's trying to run the show. Thank you.
We'll do it interactively. Do these first, and then
everyone gather round! Gather round! It's so good to see so many of you here today. If you're around the corner, come towards this stage. Come towards the big round church. It's so great to see thousands of you here to say, Trump, not welcome. Say it loud, say it clear. Donald Trump's not welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Donald Trump's not welcome here. I can't hear you. I want you to scream at the top of your lungs. Say it loud, say it clear. Donald Trump's not welcome here. Thank you everyone for being here today. I'm Seema Saida, a spokesperson for the Stop Trump Coalition. We're supported by many organizations today, many different movements, from the Palestine Solidarity Campaign to stop the war and stand up to racism. We're supported by women's rights groups like Abortion Rights, climate groups like Green New Deal Rising and Fossil Free London. We're supported by migrants' rights groups like the Migrants' Rights Network. And many more groups are here today together in Windsor. They're going to be dining at a lavish state banquet while Gaza starves. We know that the US could stop this genocide with a click of Trump's fingers. We know that the US is arming the genocide in Palestine. The US is funding Israel's genocide in Palestine. Biden was doing it. Starmer is supporting it. And Trump is continuing it. Donald, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Repeat after me. Donald, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Donald, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Louder. Donald, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Donald, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. One more time. Scream at the top of your lungs. Donald, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Thank you. And we hope that this government will stop arming the genocide, will put full sanctions on Israel and stop trading with the genocidal entity. But if they don't, we're going to do it ourselves. And I am so proud of all the different civil disobedience and direct action groups who have been intervening to destroy the weapons and the drones that are being sent to Palestine to kill Palestinians from this country, that are trying to save the lives of Palestinians by challenging the arms industry directly, the dock workers all around the globe, and the trade unionists who are blocking the ports that are sending the weapons to Israel and sending the economic goods to Israel. And I urge all of you, coming out to protest is so important, and we've been seeing people, hundreds of thousands of people on the streets in the UK, millions of people all around the globe out on the streets to protest. And I urge you that the next step is to take this civil disobedience and direct action to stop the machine of genocide. Now, we also saw this weekend a far-right rally take place right here in the streets of London, and it was supported by the horrific MAGA crowd. We had Elon Musk saying that violence is coming to you, saying that people should be ready to fight or die. And what did our Prime Minister do? Barely anything. He was at a football match. The only thing he condemned was the fascist thugs attacking police officers, not the thugs attacking migrants on the streets, not the thugs attacking brown and black people everywhere, not the thugs attacking Muslims, not the people wanting to set fire to asylum hotels with people inside. This is a dereliction of duty and is a total failure of our government. And you know what? We will replace this genocidal government, and they need to have the fear in their bones of our people-powered movement. Okay, I've been on this stage for a while, and now I'm going to introduce our first speaker, because we've seen that Donald Trump is a climate catastrophe denier. He's in the hands of the big oil lobby. So, without further ado, I announce Hannah Martin from Green New Deal Rising.
Thank you. It's so inspiring to be here today. We organise young people on climate justice, and we're here today to stop Trump, yes, but we're also here to stop Trump's politics from taking hold in this country. We draw a line, we say no further. What does that politics look like here? Well, it looks like fossil fuel subsidies. It looks like failure to rule out Rosebank. It looks like a failure to tackle the energy cost crisis in this country, as we make massive payouts to water companies and energy companies who are profiting off people's misery. It looks like demonizing and criminalizing peaceful protest, dragging grandmothers and vicars away for holding up signs protesting genocide. It is a disgrace, and we say no to Trump, and we say no to Trump's politics. refuse to live in a country where we line the pockets of billionaires who have only made their money off the backs of ordinary working people. There is no way you can become that rich without exploiting people. So we're calling for wealth taxes in this budget. We run the Pay Up campaign. There are so many people getting behind wealth taxes. If you want to come and get involved, we're calling for a protest on the 27th of October. Please join us. If you're 16 to 35 and if you're older, please support us, because we all have to stand together. And finally, I just want to say, I think it's really easy in this moment to feel really overwhelmed. There is so much suffering. There's failure after failure from our government, from people who are supposed to protect us. But I want you to look to your left or your right now. These are your people. We are each other's people, and we will not let us down. We will stand together and we will keep turning up. It doesn't matter, you can't do everything, but we can all do something. If you can persuade one person, a friend, a family member who cares about people, who cares about communities, who cares about our libraries, our schools, our hospitals, and a safe climate to turn up to one thing in the next 2 months, that can be a ripple. A ripple can be a stream can be a river. The river is the sea. And we are big enough when we stand together. So take heart from one another. We will not be overwhelmed. We will stand together and we will stop fascist politics from taking over this country. Thank you very much.
Be able from abortion rights.
Thank you. Trump has boasted about overturning Roe v. Wade, the legislation in the US that guaranteed the right to abortion since the 70s. You might not think it affects you, but 1 in 3 women in the US will have an abortion in their lifetime. It's the same figure here. And everybody, we say this a lot, everybody loves somebody who's had an abortion. Trump appointed 3 anti-choice judges and prevented abortion for millions of women. Since the overturning of Roe in 2022, at least 10 women have died because they couldn't have an abortion. Women like 28-year-old Amber Thurman and 34-year-old Portia Nunkamesi. And maternal mortality has gone up by 33%, worse for black women. And we say this because abortion is healthcare. Abortion prevents women dying unnecessarily. Abortion bans stop women and pregnant people being able to control their bodies. It's not about life, it's about controlling women. Trump gives legitimacy to far-right forces who want to roll back reproductive rights everywhere. Rolling out the red carpet here for a second state visit empowers those attacking our abortion rights in Britain too. So abortion rights are here to say no rollbacks here and no rollbacks anywhere. Abortion rights are human rights, and resisting Trump and what he stands for is part of resisting the global far right, like the likes of Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson, that want to control our laws, freedoms, and our bodies. Defend abortion rights, stand with Palestine, fight racism and sexism and climate destruction. Thank you.
Campaign.
Thank you very much. Really pleased to be with you all. Kevin Courtney, I used to be General Secretary of the National Education Union. In retirement, I think there's more time for politics, and I'm working with the Cuba Solidarity Campaign. And I tell you, we are frightened for the future of the world, and we are frightened for the future of Cuba. Now, on the question of Cuba, there is a context, because there has been bipartisan hostility to Cuba ever since the 1959 revolution in that country. And both the Democrats and the Republicans have maintained attacks. And you will know there is a blockade against Cuba that the Americans have been running ever since 1960. It is nearly the longest blockade in the world. It's only rivaled by the Israelis' blockade of Gaza. And we call it a blockade. An embargo is one country not trading with another. A blockade is when the US blocks every other country from trading with Cuba, and it is an outrage. Now that's the context that Trump has come into. And we, the Cuban people, the Cuban government, the Cuba Solidarity Campaign, we are frightened about what comes next. The measures he has introduced in the last few months are enormous. He's put Cuba absolutely unfairly on the state sponsors of terrorism list that they maintain. That is entirely because the Cubans were helping with the Colombian peace process. But that takes Cuba out of the international banking system. They are refusing to let Cubans in America send any remittances, any money to their family in Cuba. And you know that countries in the global south rely on that. They are attacking the Cuban tourist industry, so much so that Expedia has just delisted every Cuban property. And they are attacking the Cubans' pride and joy, their health service, and the medical missions they send overseas. So they are attacking Caribbean countries that rely on Cuban doctors. And if they say, if you have Cuban doctors, Cuban nurses, we won't let any of your government come into the US. It is completely outrageous. And we don't know what comes next. And I want you to ask yourself, why are the Americans doing this against one of the smallest countries in the world? Why do they maintain this hostility? Is Cuba a military threat to the US? Well, obviously not. The US has soldiers all over the world. The Cubans have doctors all over the world. The US funds the Israeli military. The Cubans are training Palestinian doctors. The Cubans are no sort of military threat to the US, but I tell you what they are. They are a threat of an example that you don't have to stay within the neoliberal order. You can have a government which prioritizes health and education and sports and arts. And that's why I say, Viva Cuba, down with Trump, support the Cuban people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We know that the USA uses economic warfare and sanctions against countries all over the world because it wants to put forward and pursue its colonial agenda.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to share a platform today with so many women who have come out against Donald Trump, women like Carrie from Abortion Rights UK. I'm here with Women Against the Far Right, and we want to challenge some of the myths that are taking place in this country. Because there is a myth going around this country that the biggest threat to women and girls are the people who are fleeing war and persecution. There's a myth in this country that violence against women and girls is only caused by refugees and asylum seekers. There's a myth going around this country that the trans community are a threat to women. But these are the lies that are spread by the people at the top of society. People that have no interest in protecting women and girls, no interest in taking on sexism. And these are the kind of racist, transphobic myths that were on the Tommy Robinson demonstration last Saturday. A man who says he wants to protect women and girls, but was done for domestic violence and attacks women on the left every single day. Tommy Robinson is the threat to women, not ordinary people on the streets. We know that the real threat to women and girls and the sexism we experience does not come from refugees and asylum seekers. The men that make me feel unsafe are not the men facing deportations, but the men who are calling for them. The men who think they stand above the law. The men who are having state banquets right now, like the sex offender that is Donald Trump, like the public schoolboy that is Nigel Farage, like the Mendelssohns and the Prince Andrews who get away time and again with attacking women and girls. And it is also the men who were on that demonstration last Saturday. There is no doubt that when Trump, Farage and Starmer spread racist lies and myths about migration, it gives the racists and the sexists on the streets confidence. And I just want to say that last Saturday was a wake-up call. Last Saturday was the biggest far-right demonstration in British history. And it was led by fascists like Tommy Robinson. But we have to say that last Saturday wasn't the only picture. I was proud to be on the Stand Up to Racism demonstration that was led by hundreds of women, the women against the far-right bloc at the front of the march. And look, we are a campaign, but we're not just building a campaign. We are building a movement of women who are angry about the rise of racism and fascism. Because actually we say that it's those at the top that are a threat to us. We're angry about the disgusting racist, sexist attacks on women like happened in Birmingham last weekend. So we say justice for all the victims and solidarity with them. But we need to be bigger. We need an anti-racist, anti-fascist movement that is made up of every trade unionist, every member of the Palestine movement, everyone who stands against Donald Trump. We need to be bigger to take on the likes of Robinson, Farage and Trump. And we need that movement to be led by women. So join Women Against the Far Right. We launched an open letter that has 10,000 signatories. Add your name to it. We're campaigning in every local area. Get involved. Refugees and migrants welcome here. Trans women are women. Let's smash the far right.
Woo! Thank you for that rousing speech, Sophie. Now, hideously and horrifically been blaming Ukraine for Russia's invasion of its sovereign territory. Donald Trump is a danger to the world. He's a warmonger. He promised peace on day one, and the war is still going on. So now we have Sasha Ismail from the Ukraine Solidarity Campaign.
Hi everyone, as Seema said, I'm Sasha Ismail. I'm a socialist and trade unionist based in London. I'm speaking for the Ukraine Solidarity Campaign, which is the UK workers' movement campaign in support of Ukraine and Ukraine's workers. Please visit us at ukrainesolidarity.campaign.org, follow our social media, or find us today for a flyer and a chat. First of all, I want to send solidarity to our comrades in the United States, who are facing the threat of severe oppression, even as they continue to fight back. We must stand ready to help them in any way we can. Perhaps the only thing that Donald Trump despises, as much as he despises workers and migrants, is nations and people denied their rights or threatened with denial of their rights. He especially loathes those with the temerity to resist and fight back. We see that in his and his regime's stance towards the Palestinians, the Kurds, and every people fighting national oppression, and not least, of course, the people of Ukraine. In addition to his desire to enrich himself, Trump hates Ukrainians and admires Russia's dictatorship and its imperialism. Like the great bulk of the global far right, and of course his friend Putin is a sponsor of the far right all over the world. The Trump regime's whole trajectory is about undermining Ukraine's resistance and lowering barriers to a Russian victory in Ukraine. And the results have been predictable. Not peace, but stepped up aggression by Russian imperialism. Since the US literally rolled out the red carpet for indicted war criminal Vladimir Putin, Russia's attacks on Ukraine have not lessened, but burgeoned. Not long ago, 100 drone and missile strikes a night across the whole of Ukraine was seen as a lot. 2 weeks ago, we saw 800 drone and missile strikes on Kyiv alone, followed by incursions in Poland and Romania. Supporting liberation for peoples denied their rights is an essential part of fighting Trumpism and the global far right. We must help the people of Ukraine defeat Russian imperialism. Solidarity.
Thank you, Sasha. We're really running out of time. We have a lot of speakers left. So Hunter from Democrats Abroad and Roto-Rote Media.
Hello, London! Today I speak to you from the heart, not as a representative of the Democratic Party, but as someone who was born just a few minutes away from here. I am a British American. I have done political activism in both of these countries, and for decades now I have seen the rise of fascism be normalized day by day. When I was 15 years old, lived through Hurricane Katrina. I watched my city be wiped away in front of me. I also watched the recovery under neoliberal auspices destroy the city afterwards that had already been turned into dust, where people ended up poorer than they were before, even though rich people from across the country and world were able to move there and set up nice holiday homes. This is not the future we need. We need to understand that fascism is not something that is happening because of Donald Trump. It is happening everywhere. They are interconnected, and they do this so commonly and so absurdly that people like Nigel Farage will claim election interference while attending the Conservative Political Action Committee and National Conservative Conference with Viktor Orban and half of the far-right assholes on this continent. This is the reality. If we got rid of Trump tomorrow, that would not change. We have to understand they have built a movement upon decades that will take us all of our efforts to dismantle. They want us to fear the migrant, fear the trans person, make sure all of your problems come from the asylum seeker. But the reality is the same as it has always been. It is the reality that billionaires continue to enrich themselves, politicians work as their servants, and the media is too fearful or complicit to say anything otherwise. Every day we see this, and this will not change unless we come together. And it is not enough just to vote every few years. You need to be politically engaged. Join a political party. Join a trade union. And if you're one of the hundreds of thousands of Americans living in this country, join Democrats abroad and fight back. Do not wait for your chance. Do not wait for your struggle, because the time is now for it to happen, or else we will lose the chance to fight back. Thank you.
I'm Emi Oluwole, a human rights campaigner and journalist.
Do you know what I think when I look at you? We're going to win. Because do you know why they complain about cancel culture? It's because our generations, especially millennials, Gen Z, for us when we grew up, all the great fights for equality, whether it's the civil rights movement, suffragettes, that was literally a previous century, hell, a previous millennium. So when we look at people who oppose equality, we are done with you. When we see Nigel Farage on stage hugging somebody who pled guilty to inciting racial hatred after she called for asylum seekers to be burned alive, we're done with you. When we see Tommy Robinson screaming about Muslims, we are done with you. When we see J.K. Rowling, when we see J.K. Rowling making life increasingly dangerous for trans people, we are done with you. When we see Keir Starmer quoting Enoch Powell, we are done with you. When we see our taxes going towards what has now been confirmed to be a genocide, we are done with you. When we see a rapist president be given the red carpet treatment, we are done with you. And here's the thing. The people of the UK, we have never been down for this right-wing crap. In every single election since World War II, the majority of votes have gone to parties to the left of the Conservatives, because that is who we are as a people. However, so if we're going to actually win, the priority has to be uniting the left. That has to be the priority. We need a voting system where all votes count equally, because if we get that, then we can actually end this fascist crap. Because we actually have an advantage here in the UK. Because the far right in the UK promised for 27 years that Brexit would make our lives easier. And it has made us poor, and they have admitted that. So we actually have no excuse. The idea that they're working for working class people is dead here. So, like I said, all this fascist crap, we are done with it. It ends with us, and we will end it.
Amazing, rousing, hilarious. Thank you, Femi, who is an American and member of Indivisible's London.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the Stop Trump Coalition and to Indivisible and to all the amazing groups who are here today, not just because they recognize what a danger Donald Trump presents to the United States and to the world, but for bringing us all together here today to do something about it. Donald Trump and his family have made $3.4 billion since January, while his MAGA allies sow division and dissent all around the United States and here as well. It's not making America great again. It's just making Trump rich again. It's not doing anything for the people who elected him.
is a daily diet of red meat and rage, an algorithm-driven avalanche of distraction and encouragement to blame other people for their very real problems. Rage is useful to Trump and his far-right allies everywhere. He uses it to build a community of us versus any scapegoat he chooses to make them. Judges, the media, the Democrats, migrants, anybody, even Mike Pence, his own ex-vice president, anybody could become them to these guys. And that's what's tearing America apart right now. It has to stop. We have to vote them out. It's up to us, Americans. How many Americans are here today? All right. It's up to us. If you're an American citizen here, and if you're an American student overseas, you can help make desperately needed change back home. Go to votefromabroad.org and use the chatbot to find a human voter assistance officer. They will know how to help you. I oppose Trump because I am a proud American and I believe in my country's promise. We just have to make that happen. And I'm really proud to stand with you all. Have a great march, everybody.
Woo! Thank you, Portia. And our solidarity goes out to everyone. Up next is Tyrone Scott from the Make Them Pay Coalition and War on Want.
Friends, comrades, allies, we are here today not just to protest Donald Trump, but to reject everything that him and his politics represents. This moment today is bigger than just one man. It's about a rising tide of far-right politics, of fascism, of scapegoating migrants, asylum seekers, refugees, and the most vulnerable people in our societies. Trump and those like him, they do not just ride this wave. They are the architects behind it. They fan the flames of division. They make racism, xenophobia, fear part of the mainstream once again. And we've seen in the UK how this plays out. Just this weekend, we saw the far right, organised by right-wing grifter Tommy Robinson, a man turned into the poster boy of hate, bankrolled by billionaires abroad. And these marches don't just come out of nowhere. They are the product of a narrative deliberately whipped up by politicians like Trump and his allies here, blaming migrants and the vulnerable for every problem in society. Now, we know who the real culprits are. The super rich, the corporations, the billionaires, the politicians who enable them, who not only drive inequality, climate breakdown, genocide, war, but profit directly from this destruction. We need to make them pay to fix our broken societies. And that is why it's so crucial that so many of us are out in force here today to say no to Trump and everything that he represents. And do join us again right here on Saturday at 12 p.m. as we demand that we make the billionaires, super rich, corporations and the wealthy elites pay to fix our global crisis, not ordinary people. Let's stop scapegoating migrants. Let's stop scapegoating refugees and asylum seekers, trans people, marginalised people and all vulnerable peoples. End the far right, end fascism, stop Trump. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you. Fuck Trump, fuck the billionaires, and I hope I'm going to see all of you here again on Saturday to make them pay. From the campaign's coordinator of Campaign Against Climate Change to continue that message.
We'll be here on Saturday for the Make Them Pay demo, because Trump is just one man, but he represents a much bigger movement, as everyone has said. And part of what he represents is the fossil fuel industry. We know their products are killing the planet, renewable energy is getting cheaper, but they have their man in the White House. He's not just promoting fossil fuels, he's blocking wind and solar energy to keep their profits going as the planet is dying. So his actions make every one of us less safe. Most of all, the poorest countries around the world have done least to cause this crisis. But climate breakdown is hitting the poorest worst everywhere, especially within the US, with a deep inequality. In southern US cities like Phoenix, hospitals in the severe summer heat waves are seeing people with second-degree burns from the pavement, from hose pipes, and they're stopping, in some states, laws that say workers must have water breaks. So people will tell you, like Farage will tell you, climate action is the enemy of the workers. It's not. The billionaires are the enemy of the workers. It's not the migrants. It's those who are trying to prevent climate action and prevent justice. We all stand together.
Thank you. And last but not least, I pass you over to the capable hands of Shaista Aziz from the Stop Trump Coalition.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for being here, and in a few minutes we're going to start marching towards Parliament Square. We're here today to send a very loud and clear message to our own government, but also to Donald Trump, that he's not welcome in this country. It is a disgrace that Keir Starmer has rolled out the red carpet for him, and it's also a disgrace that during this state visit there will be a lavish banquet held in Windsor Castle where Donald Trump and all those invited will be feasting while the people of Gaza continue to starve. And while a live stream genocide continues for more than 2 years, when we all know that in a blink of an eye, Donald Trump could make this stop. Now, before I leave you, I want to read a short poem by a brilliant Palestinian poet from Gaza who wrote this book called 48 kg, which the name suggests is about the number of Palestinians starving. Her name is Batul Abu Aklim. The poem is called They Are in the Sky. I sit in a classroom with 50 displaced people. We teach the little ones their first lesson, Surah Al-Fatiha to recite for the souls and the prayers to pray for the bodies. We've not taught them anything about the departed except that they reside in the sky. And so they roam the streets, they devour the plates of Gorebe biscuits, they laugh, they play, they look up saying, they are in the sky, they are in the sky. Death breaks into the classroom. He reveals secrets to the children, and suddenly they grow up. They wear their father's faces. Out of the broken plates, they make homes for their younger siblings. A rattle comes from their throats. They are in the sky. They are in the sky. So once again, I want to thank you for being here, and I'd urge you all to start moving in this direction now as we start the march towards Parliament Square. And let's keep standing up for justice and peace and unity and for all that is decent and good. Thank you.
We are here with some members from the European bloc. So there's quite a group of people who are, supporting the European Union, who are not in support of what's happened with Brexit. So I've got somebody here with a lovely rejoin t-shirt and quite a startling banner there. And I'm wondering if you'd like to tell me what brought you out here on the streets today.
Oh, well, I mean, Donald Trump is just an abomination, Everything he says is anathema to my views, and he's a real threat to world peace. They are stirring up far-right hatred across the world, particularly in America at the moment. Since the Charlie Kirk killing, what they're saying is very, very worrying indeed. Targeting anyone with a slightly left view, basically labelling them as terrorists, which is insane. It's something that we've seen with their own government, labelling Palestine action people terrorists, which is nonsense for what they did. It was criminal action, that was all. So the whole thing has been stirred up enormously. And in this country, since Brexit, that kind of ideology has really taken hold. They've been given free rein to develop the most astonishing ideas with the help of social media, with the help of Putin, who was behind Brexit in my view, his Russian bots, his Russian money funding the whole thing. bringing out people to vote who really don't care. You know, they're just they're on the far right of thought generally. So yeah, you know, the world's gone mad, I'm afraid.
So if Donald Trump were watching this live stream right now, what would you say to him?
I'd say, go home, Donald. You know, we don't want you here. I was at Windsor last night. There were people there demonstrating. It's just a joke. You know, you feel you're being lauded and given the special treatment because, you know, our government feel they have to be sycophantic to you, to pander to you. It's sickening to see. Poor old King Charles having to put up with him. He obviously thinks he's, you know, the bottom of the pits in terms of humanity, but he's got to laud him as if he's something special. It's just sickening, amusing a little bit, but only a very little bit. On the whole, it's just tragic. Tragic.
Thank you for sharing your views with us.
I'll look to you.
Well, we are here on the iconic Piccadilly Circus, which is kind of, yeah, this feels to me like the bastion of capitalism and consumption. You are carrying a sign that says Make Polluters Pay, a shirt that says Make Polluters Pay. Why are you here at the Trump Not Welcome March?
Well, we're here because the fossil fuel industry has been making $2.8 billion a day in profits for the last 50 years. Right? And so they need to pay up for the climate damages that are now wrecking loads of parts of the world. And why we're here is obviously we'd like to see fossil fuels stay in the ground. But you know, in the interim, while they're being phased out, they need to be taxed much more. And the cheerleader for the fossil fuel industry is Donald Trump. So we want to be here today to deliver that message. We should get rid of fossil fuels, but in the interim, let's tax them much more and pay for the damages and pay for the cost of living crisis that's also caused by the fossil fuel industry. That's why we're here.
As you're saying this, I'm hearing echoes in my head of Donald Trump saying drill, baby, drill.
Absolutely. So he is completely denying the climate science, which is telling us that we will overheat our planet, which will not wipe out the planet, but it will wipe out many of the species, including us on the planet. It is a completely self-seeking, selfish, narrow-minded, wrong view, and we're here to challenge it.
That's great. Thank you for sharing.
I'm with Tesla Takedown. I'm here to protest Trump because Trump is a fascist and he's leading total fascism. What we're about at Tesla Takedown is encouraging people to boycott Tesla and all Elon Musk products for that matter, because Elon Musk is an even bigger threat to democracy and to world peace than Donald Trump. So that's why I'm on this march.
Hi, we're just coming up to Trafalgar Square. You're here with a very large contingent of Amnesty International. Look at everybody behind you. Just wondering if you could tell us, what is it that brought you out on the streets today?
I think Trump represents everything that's wrong with the world. He's anti-environment, he's anti-human rights, he's anti-women, he's anti-everything. So where he goes across so many things that are wrong and I feel passionate about, I felt like I needed to come and represent that actually the loudest voices aren't the right ones.
That's great. Have you ever been to one of these kinds of marches before?
No, this is my very first one. So yeah, I've loved it. It's been really friendly. Everyone's looked after each other. Everyone's looked out for each other, and it's been a great community.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
the cake is meant to symbolize the earth that we are destroying. So we're all taking part in our consumerism. So be a mindful consumer.
Lovely people to interview. So I was wondering what made you come out here today and why, what would you like to tell Donald Trump?
Well, to answer your second question first, I really have no words for Donald Trump. He's just beyond anything. But the reason I'm here today is because, for many reasons, but one is obviously that the United Nations have just officially said, or some section of them officially said, that there's a genocide happening in Gaza, and that adds to many, many other people and experts who said there's a genocide happening in Gaza. And that genocide has been partly committed by people flying F-35 planes and bombing and destroying huge residential areas and killing tens of thousands of civilians, many of whom are buried under the rubble as we speak. And what particularly sickened me this morning was to hear that those very same sorts of planes, F-35s, are being flown on a flypast as we speak in front of Starmer and Trump, presumably both of them clapping this as American and British planes fly over. And I just find this absolutely beyond anything. This is a genocide going on, and Trump and Starmer are both actively supporting that genocide. The British people are against the genocide, and we're sitting here watching our political leaders celebrate this monstrosity. It's beyond anything.
Thank you so much. And what I found extra powerful is Holocaust survivor against Gaza genocide. Would you like to speak a bit more on that particularly?
Well, my father was a young man, a teenager in Poland, in Łódź, back in 1939. The Germans invaded. Within a few months, him and his family were pushed into the Łódź ghetto. They were deprived of food. They were deprived of medical care, of clean water, of decent housing. And within a year or so, his mother and his brother had both died of disease and hunger. And he survived by some miracle, basically, because the Germans needed slave labor. So he ended up in various camps, and he eventually survived the death march and survived the war, unlike 6 million others. And that has always motivated me to be against wars, against genocide, and against atrocities. So that's basically why I'm here, to oppose yet another genocide. It seems we learn nothing.
Thank you so much for your time and explaining your point of view. Thank you.
Do you want another interview with different stories?
Right.
Events, are they not in the middle currently?
No, like front and centre. Well, there are two realities that we have to deal with here. The first is this appalling genocide in Gaza and the related ethnic cleansing on the West Bank. What is going on in Israel and Palestine is completely appalling and shocking and intolerable. And Trump is colluding with this and in his own way supporting it, and is therefore committing as a participant, as a direct contributor to genocide. So the idea that this figure should come to this country and be welcomed and celebrated and given this sort of fairy tale little experience of the royal family is appalling and shocking. So that's one thing. And the other thing, I think, is that Trump has come to represent, as you can see by the array of placards on this demonstration, has come to represent a kind of axis of evil around the world. And there's just a multitude of issues where he has enabled and supported evil of many, many kinds. And for that reason also, we cannot welcome him here.
Thank you so much. Has seen fascism before. What do you think that Trump is representing, and do you think it has direct ramifications here in Britain as well?
Well, it obviously does. I was in the anti-Tommy Robinson protest that was on, was it last Saturday, I think it was, and the number of people who were attracted to join the fascists was huge. And they were all happy. And they were saying how wonderful it was, and everyone was being very nice to each other. And I thought, are they in the same world? I mean, I subsequently discovered that there was an awful lot of pot smoked at the gathering, and so what it was they enjoyed, I don't know. But it was, I talked to a nurse from Bicester, and she was saying it was wonderful. And can you imagine someone working for the NHS saying there's a man who wants to spread fascism and tear down organisations like the NHS was leading something which was wonderful? It just doesn't make sense to me. And it's very, very worrying indeed.
Thank you so much.
Nudging me out the way.
What brought you out here today, and what is the message that you'd like to tell everyone watching the live stream?
My name is Sam Weinstein. I'm from the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network. I have both British and American citizenship. And we are absolutely appalled at what is going on in Gaza. And frankly, we all know that Trump could say to Netanyahu, stop it now, and it would happen right now. We know that. And the idea that the British government has invited him to come to the UK when this slaughter is going on in Gaza is totally outrageous. But worse than that, we know Trump's record about immigrants in the United States. And we know that there are plenty of fascists waiting to come out onto the streets against immigrants here. So to invite Trump to stir up even more trouble in this country against immigrants is outrageous. We believe that Trump and people like Trump and Starmer and so on have created the immigration crisis by supporting wars all over the world, which is driving immigrants out of their home countries. And immigrants should be welcome wherever they come. They don't come because they want to, they come because they have to.
Do you see any parallels between the two countries in policies? Do you think that Trump's arrival has any implications for British politics as well?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm saying about in relation to immigration. But it's not only in relation to immigration. The idea that somebody from the Labour Party like Keir Starmer is welcoming somebody who's a convicted criminal, but is the head of state of a country which is clearly discriminating against people of color all over the place, has a long history of genocide against black people in the United States, and is increasingly targeting people of Latino descent. The idea that they are welcoming here is outrageous and means probably that they have that in mind for the rest of us in the UK.
Thank you so much for explaining your point of view.
Earlier, before the march started, when we were mentioning some of the protests going on, there was a big protest last night run by a group called Led by Donkeys. They are a group who sort of specializes in projecting very large images onto iconic buildings and places to tell a story that maybe they think the government or other people don't want them to hear. So we're going to go to what they showed on the wall of Windsor Castle last night.
This is Windsor Castle, home of the British royal family, where Donald Trump is staying during his state visit. And this is a film about Trump's relationship with the world's most famous pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. Their friendship goes back to at least 1992, when the two of them are filmed laughing together. Trump can be seen making friendly conversation with Epstein in between clips of Trump smiling and dancing with a group of young women at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. The following year, they attend a cafe opening together. And a month after that, Trump invites Epstein to his wedding. In 1995, a young woman called Maria Farmer is working for Epstein in Manhattan. Late one night, she says, Epstein unexpectedly calls her to his offices, and she arrives in running shorts. Donald Trump then turns up wearing a business suit and starts to hover over her. Ms. Farmer feels scared as Trump stares at her bare legs. Then Epstein enters the room, and she recalls him saying to Trump, "No, she's not here for you." The two men then leave the room, and Ms. Farmer says she heard Trump commenting that he thought Ms. Farmer was 16 years old. She says she later reported the incident to the authorities. Trump denies he was ever in Epstein's office. 1993 to 1997, Trump takes at least 8 flights on Epstein's private jet, according to flight logs released by the U.S. Department of Justice. The plane is later dubbed the Lolita Express, a reference to the character in the Nabokov novel by the same name, a 12-year-old child who is sexually abused by an older man. 1997, Trump and Epstein are seen together at 2 Victoria's Secret parties and are photographed together at Mar-a-Lago. The same year, Trump gifts a book to Epstein with the dedication, "To Jeff, you are the greatest, Donald." 2000, a 16-year-old girl, Virginia Giuffre, is working in the spa at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. There, she is recruited by Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, to work as a personal masseuse for Epstein. The teenager will soon become, in her words, a teen sex slave and will endure years of sexual abuse.
I was recruited at a very young age from Mar-a-Lago and entrapped in a world that I didn't understand.
25 years later, Trump will acknowledge he was aware that young women were being recruited from Mar-a-Lago by Epstein.
Were some of them young women? Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Trump is then asked if one of them was Virginia Giuffre.
I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her.
2 years later, after Giuffre was recruited from his club by Epstein and Maxwell, Trump tells New York Magazine he thinks that Epstein is a, quote, terrific guy, and that they have known each other for 15 years. He's a lot of fun to be with, Trump says. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. 2003, Trump draws a message in a book made for Epstein's 50th birthday. The drawing depicts a woman's breasts and is accompanied by text written by Trump to Epstein that includes the line, quote, "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey," end quote. Trump signs off by saying, quote, "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." A Donald signature is written in the place of pubic hair. 22 years later, Trump will begin legal action against the Wall Street Journal over their reporting of the drawing, claiming it doesn't exist. Epstein's estate then releases the drawing to Congress. Another entry in the birthday book contains a photo of Epstein holding a novelty check bearing Donald Trump's signature, along with a note suggesting Epstein, quote-unquote, sold Trump a woman for $22,500. It's unclear if the photo and accompanying note is a joke or not. 2004. The two men fall out, and their close relationship ends. The reason for their estrangement? They both tried to buy the same Palm Beach mansion. 2005. Police in Palm Beach begin investigating Epstein after a 14-year-old child reports he molested her at his mansion. 2008. Epstein pleads guilty to state charges in Florida, including procuring a child for prostitution and solicitation of prostitution. The sweetheart plea deal, agreed by U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, includes a non-prosecution agreement giving Epstein immunity from possible federal charges. He is sentenced to just 18 months in jail. Under the plea deal, Epstein is allowed to be out of jail from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 6 days a week and has his own driver to take him to and from his office. 2010. In a legal deposition, Epstein is asked about his relationship with Donald Trump.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
By the way, this was around about the time that Prince Andrew was photographed walking with Epstein in Central Park. 2016. According to award-winning CBS News producer Ira Rosen, Maxwell confirms to him that Epstein secretly taped his famous friends, including Trump and Bill Clinton. February 2017. Donald Trump, now President of the United States, nominates Alex Acosta, the man behind Epstein's sweetheart plea deal, to be his Secretary of Labor. August 2017. Epstein conducts a series of taped interviews with the journalist Michael Wolff, research for a potential book Wolff hopes to write. In the interviews, Epstein claims Trump first slept with Melania on the Lolita Express and also says he was Trump's closest friend for a decade.
So how do you know this?
That was close to straight.
July 2019. Epstein is arrested in New York on federal sex trafficking charges. The truth about his decades-long history of child abuse is finally being widely reported. A month later, he is found dead in his jail cell. The authorities declare his death a suicide. 2020. Maxwell is charged with federal crimes for helping recruit underage girls for Epstein and participating in the abuse herself. Trump is asked about the charges and replies,
I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well.
2024. Asked about whether he would release the so-called Epstein files, information about Epstein's crimes, and potentially his famous accomplices, Trump seems unsure.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
Yes, I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
2025. Trump is now president again, and his administration blocks release of the Epstein files. It is soon revealed that his attorney general, Pam Bondi, told Trump in May that his name is in the files before authorizing the release of a handful of transcripts only. Trump's one-time personal lawyer, now Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, then meets Ghislaine Maxwell in prison for 9 hours, amid speculation of a quid pro quo to protect Trump. Days later, Maxwell is moved to a low-security prison famous for its comfortable conditions and known as Club Fed. This is what we know. The President of the United States was a longtime close friend of America's most notorious child sex trafficker. He's alleged to be mentioned numerous times in the files arising from the investigation into that child sex trafficker. And now he is back in office. The U.S. federal government appears to be doing all it can to prevent the American public from learning fully about the president's relationship with the country's most notorious child sex trafficker. Now that president, Donald Trump, is sleeping here in Windsor Castle.
front of Big Ben, and you are also dressed quite iconically today. Why have you chosen to dress as the Statue of Liberty?
Because the poor Statue of Liberty must be so upset these days with everything that's happening in the States and in the rest of the world. That's why.
And how does it feel to be out on the streets today?
Safe. It wasn't on Saturday, but it feels safe. It's a nice group of people, and I'm with the Amnesty International group.
That's great. And what would you say to Donald Trump if he were watching this?
Get lost. Sorry, get lost and leave us alone, and let decent people govern your wonderful country.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We're standing really here at the seat of power in the UK. What's brought you out here today?
Obviously, the most obvious is the children of Gaza, the people of Gaza, the devastation we've seen in the past nearly 2 years. Constantly seeing such scenes, I can't imagine living it day to day. The doctors, the ones in the ambulance, working for the ambulance, the civil service, the innocent civilians, and just seeing how they push through every day and their resilience. Like, we should come to the streets, we should bring our own community together, and we should all participate in raising their voices and letting them be heard. However it's possible, whether you're in your wheelchair, whether you're doing back-to-back shifts like myself in retail, just coming together and just making our voices heard and being in solidarity with such a people that have been under such brutal occupation for so long, for how many years it's been. So it's really important for us as individuals with just a little bit of humanity in your heart to spare even 10 minutes of your day to come down. It doesn't take much. And I just really think it's important for all of us to be a collective, and together we're stronger, as we all know. So that's why it's so important.
So I'm wondering then, this coming together, bringing communities together, there have been a lot of marches on behalf of Palestine. There have been a lot of protests. The United Nations just this week, just 2 days ago, declared that what is happening what Israel is doing in Palestine is genocide. And now you've got the President of the United States visiting here. What do you think about his role in this?
It's devastating because clearly it's not no one's blind to genocide. We see it happening. It's just sad we've seen the lack of action from our own government, from our own people in parliament. At least do something, have a backbone of ourselves as a UK, rather than wait for the US's influence. We can show our solidarity and be more support of Palestine. Trump coming here shows clearly how the UK's disregard to invite someone who's such a supporter of the genocide, who hasn't done anything to reduce tensions in the region, who hasn't said anything in support of peace in the region. So again, it's really important for us to continuously raise our voices, because clearly the government, the people in parliament are clearly not doing anything to put anything in place. And to invite Trump is a disaster. It's an absolute shocker. But again, we keep protesting, we keep coming to the streets, we keep doing our best, because again, the next generation of Palestinians, the next generation of ourselves as individuals, what do we stand for? At the end of the day, what do we stand for as individuals? We have to keep pushing through, no matter how much people in power may disregard the genocide. We have to keep stepping forward. We have to keep pushing ourselves and do the best we can as individuals, come together as a community and keep that going for the next generations as well.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and for being part of this.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on the live stream. So flags have been somewhat controversial in the UK recently. Can you tell us about your flag and why you're carrying it?
I am Mexican. I've been here for 3 months, straight from Guadalajara, beautiful city, and I'm just proud to be Mexican every single day. And it angers me to see people carrying my passport being incarcerated in the US, and therefore I carry it wherever I go. That's it. Yes.
So you're down here, you know that Donald Trump is walking around the corridors here. How does that make you feel?
Angry. As some of us are not being allowed to walk around some other places, especially in his country, the fact that with all the things he's done, he's allowed to walk around here, he's still free and at large, it annoys me and it angers me.
And what would you say to him if he were listening to this live stream?
To be honest, I barely have words for him. To be honest, I wouldn't really want to talk with him, but I don't have words for him. Simply, I don't think we're beyond. I think we're beyond words by now. That's how I feel.
Thank you for talking to us. Muchas gracias, amor. Great. So that was interesting to have a flag perspective, because we all know that flags have become a contentious issue here in the UK. We've seen various flags flying. I can see the EU flag not too far from here, which is another issue that was brought up. There was a big European contingent. So we are sort of at this place now where we're waiting for speeches to begin. The march has poured into Parliament Square. It's quite an eclectic mix of people. And in that moment before those come, we're going to go a little bit of a walkabout here and see what sort of... Oh, we've got a handmaid. Could I bother you for a moment, handmaid? You are on the live stream with Real Media.
Hello, Real Media.
We're an independent journalist cooperative, and this is quite striking. Tell us what you're doing here.
So I've come 300 miles from Newcastle because I thought it was important to protest Trump's state visit, because I don't believe he should have one. He's a convicted felon, and I'm dressed as the Handmaid's Tale because it reflects how he has eroded women's rights in the USA. And he's turning America into Gilead. And also he's eroded lots of other people's rights, gay, trans, migrants. We've seen all the ICE trucks picking people up, meddling in the Middle East. I mean, the list goes on. He shouldn't be having a state visit. Last time he had a state visit, Labour, most MPs in Labour were against his state visit. So, yeah. Obviously, they're in government now, and things are a bit different, but I'm still upset that he's having one.
So why do you think that the current government agreed to give him that unprecedented second state visit?
I realise there's an element that they didn't probably have much choice. They've got to think about economic deals. I do realise that. I'll give them that they've tried to minimise it in some respects by they've done it in parliamentary recess. I think that's their only concession they've given to try and minimise the pomp and ceremony a bit, but it's still not good enough. He shouldn't be having one.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Thank you very much. Well, that was a very striking costume. I remember reading that book when it came out when I was at university, and now people are walking on the streets with it. I'm just looking at my cameraman, making sure that we've got signal and that we can keep walking. One of the challenges of doing a live stream like this, we really want to bring the voices from below of the people on the ground. But when you have a large group of people all uploading selfies and things like that, we don't necessarily have the bandwidth to do that. but we're trying to stick with it as much as possible. And I think we've got some people that we can speak to over here. We're just going to go around, and Corey has spoken to some folks. So we're going to come over here with Corey. Who are we speaking to, Corey? So Corey's disappearing. Okay. Yeah. We did have some people from the Dump Tesla organization already, so we've spoken with them. And here we can see quite a provocative stance from Elon Musk. If you might remember, some time ago, he, during a speech, gave this gesture. Some people said they felt it was a Nazi salute. Of course, he claims that it wasn't. So we will let you be the judge of what that gesture actually means. We saw some clips from Led by Donkeys earlier, and they also did a protest on the big Tesla garage here in London, also talking about what Elon Musk has said and done. So one of many, many different organizations. I'm seeing trans flags here, seeing a lot of amnesty. I'm seeing many of the Palestinian flags flying. I do also see a dinosaur off in the background. So I'm wondering what the dinosaur is. I might have to go ask him a bit later, trying to figure out the relevance of that to this one. Fighting fascism like my forefathers, read that sign. So we're here somewhat in the shadow of Winston Churchill, quite a famous statue here, together with the birds. Winston Churchill looking grumpy as always. Interesting that a lot of people at this march are calling for an end to fascism, when we know that Winston Churchill stood quite firmly in the Second World War. We've also got somebody from the University and College Union here who are bringing in the teaching from higher education and further education. So we're just moving through the crowd. We've got quite a collection of folks here. Here's the Statue of Liberty, whom we spoke with earlier. Yeah? Always great to see the Statue of Liberty in the middle of London. As an American, that's slightly interesting for me. Lots of groups here who are talking about their agenda with this. And we're making our way over to where the speakers are. I can see that Nish Kumar has started to give his presentation. So we're going to try to make our way here, and then we're going to go over to these speeches if we can get through the rather significant crowd that we've got. So my cameraman and I are weeding our way through baby blimps. Does everybody remember at the last Stop Trump March, the baby blimp? I just saw a glimpse of one. There we go. So we're just going to have to push our way through the crowds, see if we can get in to cover these speeches.
That believe that rights can be denied to people because of their race, their gender, their sexual identity, or their religion. A politics that believes when it comes to workers' rights, to healthcare, or to the needs of the planet, the profit of large corporations comes before the well-being of the many. Of politics that believe that conventions of human rights and international law can be cast aside in favour of the law of the jungle of politics that we saw exalted on our streets last Saturday. We stand here because we believe that these principles of justice and of rights matter, and I stand here because the politics that Trump represents, the politics of ethno-nationalism, are the politics that have denied to the Palestinian people for over 77 years their basic rights to live with freedom, justice, and equality on every inch of their historic homeland. And right now, as we approach 2 years of live streamed genocide, a genocide whose reality was confirmed once again yesterday by the UN, a genocide which horrifically, barbarically, unimaginably, Israel is now extending through a further ground invasion. We see what happens when you allow such ideologies to be realized into power, to become institutionalized into systems of racist oppression, such as the regime of apartheid upon which this genocide is founded. For decades, our government have acted to normalize the racist oppression of the Palestinian people, have treated Israel as a liberal, democratic state defending itself against terrorism, instead of treating it for what it is, a rogue state that nobody should arm, trade with, cooperate with, militarily, diplomatically, politically, or economically. Keir Starmer's appeasement of reform here in the UK and Trump internationally, his co-option of their demonizing language about those fleeing persecution or simply seeking a better life, is of a piece with his refusal to acknowledge Israel's genocide and apartheid, his continued military cooperation and arming of Israel, his rolling out of the red carpet to the genocidal Herzog last week, and this week to the fascist Trump, the fascist president who wants to expel all Palestinians from Gaza and turn it into a playground for the rich. So today, we stand together to say in a loud voice, Donald Trump, you are not welcome here. No to your politics of racism and hatred. No to Farage. No to Tommy Robinson. No to Israel's system of genocide and apartheid. Yes to freedom. Yes to justice. Yes to equality. And yes, yes, yes to a liberated Palestine. In our thousands and our millions. In our thousands and our millions. In our thousands and our millions. Thank you.
Ben Jamal from the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. And now will you please welcome our next speaker from Indivisible London. Please welcome Alyssa Elliott.
Say it loud, say it clear. Donald Trump's not welcome here. I'm an American and I grew up in a conservative, Republican, military family in one of the most Republican states. I was taught that I should take responsibility for my actions, that I should treat all people equally, and that democracy was the foundation of the United States and that it was worth fighting for. I was taught that even if we disagreed with what you said, we would fight to the death for your right to say it. And I don't recognize any of that in today's Republican Party. Instead, I see people who are angry about the world changing, and they want someone smaller than them to blame it on. I watched at home in the States as racist, anti-immigrant rhetoric rose in line with Trump, and people blamed anyone they could for their problems. And it has become far too similar here. People are hurting. They are struggling to pay the rent and their heating bill and to buy food for their families, let alone buy a home. People like Donald Trump and Farage want us to blame each other. It makes you feel powerful. It makes you feel like you deserve more than other people. And it gives you a sense of control. But most of all, it keeps us from blaming them, the people actually profiting off of skyrocketing power bills or buying up all the housing or making millions from selling weapons used to conduct a genocide in Gaza. Because looking at the real problem, the system and the billionaires and the oligarchs who uphold it and who benefit from us being divided instead of united against them is too big. It's too scary. And it makes us all feel small. And that's because we are. We are small. Every single one of us is small. Not one of us can change this on our own. But looking out at every single person in this crowd, I can tell you that when we add these I'm just one person's together, we have so much power. The people always have more power than the people in power. We just have to use it. We have to be united. Today is just the beginning. And joining a protest is a wonderful beginning, but we have to follow it up with action. Join a union, start a neighborhood political study group, learn how to provide mutual aid for your community. Do not obey in advance and do not make deals with authoritarians. Because make no mistake, Donald Trump is an authoritarian who is following the playbook of every far-right authoritarian everywhere. But the UK government refuses to recognize it. The UK knew what to do with people like him in the last century, and it was not giving them a ride in a golden carriage in Windsor. We cannot be complacent and imagine that this can never happen in the UK. And we cannot shout and shame people out of the far right. We can only uphold a better way forward. And that takes every single one of us across borders. While neither the US nor the UK has ever been perfect, our democracies are a far better option than the autocratic oligarchy Trump and his cronies are imposing on us. And together, we have the power to say no. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. Alyssa Elliott from Indivisible London. Will you please now join me in welcoming to the stage Member of Parliament, Zara Sultana.
Hi everyone, my name's Zara Sultana. I am the MP for Coventry South. On Saturday, this country witnessed the largest fascist mobilisation in decades. It was led by far-right convicted criminal, Tommy Robinson, who poured his far-right agitators into the streets with violence and ugliness. They marched with the backing of international figures of the far right, emboldened by Elon Musk and encouraged by the poisonous politics of Donald Trump. But let there be no mistake, they do not represent Britain, we do. They do not speak for our communities, we do. They are a dangerous minority emboldened by a political class that scapegoats migrants, fans division, and looks the other way while racism grows. Their vision of society is one of hate and authoritarianism. Ours is one of justice, solidarity, and freedom. That is why we are here today. Today's demonstration is part of the answer to Saturday's violence, our chance to show the world that the real Britain rejects hate, that we choose unity over division, we choose democracy over authoritarianism, and we will always choose hope over despair. Today, we must also name a wider truth. The truth that the UN Commission of Inquiry has included, something that all of us have known for the past 2 years, that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. For nearly 2 years, we have all witnessed the deliberate slaughter of Palestinians, the weaponized starvation of an entire population, and the systematic destruction of hospitals and essential infrastructure. These crimes have been accompanied by public calls from Israeli political and army military figures to annihilate Palestinians. This is the most documented genocide in history. And what has unfolded, while this has unfolded, the United States has authorized and accelerated major arms transfers and billions of dollars of aid. Shame on them. Washington's weapons, Washington's logistical support, Washington's political cover are materially enabling this genocide. That makes the US directly complicit in genocide, as it makes the UK government and the EU government also enablers of genocide. Shame on all of them. Here at home, the moral bankruptcy is clear. This Labour government, led by a former human rights barrister, shame on him, continues to arm Israel's genocide. It provides RAF surveillance and it rolls out the red carpet time and time again for Israeli war criminals, and now a US president that backs them. This position was already morally indefensible, and now it is politically untenable. And let us also be honest about who is being punished and who is being protected by this Labour government. Instead of standing with millions of people across the country demanding justice for the Palestinian people, Keir Starmer's government has prescribed Palestine Action, a non-violent direct action group for the first time in British history, and the police have arrested hundreds of people of conscience opposing genocide. Shame on them. The people who are protesting against this and risking being arrested are heroes, and we are in awe of their courage and their bravery. They are not the terrorists. The terrorists are those in government that continue to sell arms to a genocidal apartheid state. They are the terrorists. From the architects of genocides to the governments that bankroll them and shield them, there must be accountability. We are not here just for moral condemnation. We demand legal accountability and justice, and that means politicians going to The Hague. We must ask ourselves, what country are we becoming? What does it mean when our government honours a leader who has stoked racism, xenophobia, transphobia and homophobia? What does it say to Muslim communities facing rising Islamophobia, to refugees who have been demonised in the media, to Palestinians whose lives have been destroyed? What it says is, you do not matter. It says hate is welcomed here. It says genocide could be ignored. We do not accept that, and we fight back. In our country, 4.5 million children live in poverty. So we have to ask, what is this pump for? Why is there endless money for bombs? Why is there endless money for weapons? Why is there endless money for state banquets, but not for feeding hungry children, heating our homes and giving young people a future? There's always money for war, but never for the poor. That must change. This demonstration is about Donald Trump, yes, but it's also about what kind of country we will be. Homophobia, Islamophobia, and anti-Semitism as normal? Or will we stand as a country where every community is safe, where justice and dignity belong to everyone? We know the answer. It's in our placards, it's in our chants, it's alive in our solidarity. So we say loudly and proudly, not in our name, not for Trump, not for Keir Starmer's groveling to US empire, not for the arms dealers, and not for genocide. These are our streets. Whose streets? Whose streets? These are our streets, this is our country, and it's our future. And together we will fight and defeat the far right and their friends in the high offices. Thank you very much. Solidarity.
Zara Sultana, everybody. Now, will you please welcome from Stand Up to Racism? Yeah, it is you, Sabi. Will you please start clapping and cheering? And welcome to the stage from Stand Up to Racism, Sabi Daller!
Thank you very much. A bit earlier than I thought, but very pleased to address you all. Well done for being here, and thank you for standing up to racism and standing up to Donald Trump. There is no doubt that the second Donald Trump presidency has emboldened every fascist and racist on the planet. Of course, there is a link between Donald Trump, the platform he has given to the likes of Elon Musk, and the 100,000 strong, sadly, biggest ever demonstration of fascists in British history on Saturday. I was there. That's why it's important for us to stand up to fascism together and fight back against the threat of the far right. So shame on Keir Starmer and the Labour government for US president. Taxpayers' money should be going on the NHS, education, transport, public services, and making British people better off. It should not be going to people like Donald Trump rolling out the carpet to someone who has basically whipped up racism in the US, someone who has let out people like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers the moment he became US president, fascists that were charged and convicted for the Capitol Hill riots. He let them out the moment he became US president. We should not be rolling out the red carpet to people like who basically allowed Elon Musk to give a Nazi salute at his inauguration. We should not be rolling out the red carpet to someone who has basically built the ICE, a modern day Gestapo that is rounding up immigrants, that is terrorizing immigrants in the US and deporting them in great numbers. Meanwhile, funding far-right Latin American governments and making them stay in concentration camps in Latin America. We should not be rolling out the red carpet to someone who implements policies like that. So I urge you, join the fight back against racism and fascism. These are very dark times. Not only have we seen the biggest far-right demonstration in British history, we're also seeing far-right Reform UK leading in the polls, which show that they could form a majority at the next general election. This is unprecedented in British electoral history. But I believe, as many have said, that we are the majority. And we need to make our voice heard. The next time fascists march in London, I urge you all to join us. All of you, let's stand together against racism and fascism. Fascism! No Passaran! No Passaran! No Passaran! No Passaran! Fascism is an existential threat to all of us, to trade unions, to the left, all of us here today, to Muslims, to Jews, to LGBT plus communities, to disabled people. So all of us must stand united and mobilise in our hundreds of thousands the next time fascists take to the streets. But we've also got to challenge this racist narrative. Racism, the far right, and fascism, it flourishes during times of economic catastrophe and immigrant blaming and refugee blaming for a crisis created by the government and the 1%. Tell Keir Starmer to stand up and challenge this racism, not feed the narrative that led to over 100,000 fascists marching on the street. We are the many, they are the few. Let's make our voices heard. Join us the next time fascists march. We can beat them back. We've done it before. We'll do it again. Solidarity!
Sami Dalu from Stand Up to Racism! Will you please now welcome our next speaker, a British Palestinian activist. Please give a massive round of applause to Leanne Mohammed!
In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! Sisters and brothers, I speak to you today at a time of deep grief and deep responsibility. Nearly 2 years have passed since the genocide in Gaza began. 2 years of horror that will haunt us and history for generations. And let us be clear. Nothing, absolutely nothing is more urgent than ending this genocide and ensuring real accountability. Let me remind you, this genocide is perpetrated by Netanyahu, but it is armed and funded by Trump. Trump has provided the weapons, the money, the diplomatic cover that have been essential to Israel's relentless genocidal assault against the Palestinian people. Billions of dollars in arms, defense systems, and military training have flowed under his watch. He has attacked international law itself, sanctioning the ICC judges who dared to issue arrest warrants for war crimes and crimes against humanity. And now, unbelievably, shamefully, our complicit government has invited him back for a second state visit to Britain. Shame! We say enough! No more arms! No more cowardice! No more state visits for war criminals! We owe it to the people of Gaza, to the cause of justice, and to our own humanity to resist Trump, to resist Netanyahu, and resist every government that enables this genocide. Earlier this year, Trump called for the clean out of Gaza, proposing Palestinians are forcibly displaced to Jordan and Egypt. And in a press conference held alongside wanted war criminal Netanyahu in Washington, he outlined plans for the US to own the Gaza Strip, envisioning it as the Riviera of the Middle East, which would be built, which would be built on the corpses of hundreds of thousands of dead Palestinians, half of them children. This is part of an explicit and concerted effort to destroy us Palestinians as a national group. But let's together remind him that the Palestinians will resist, because living is resistance, breathing is resistance, tents are resistance, and this is what Trump fails to understand. Palestinians will remain steadfast on their land. Palestinians will return. Palestine is greater than Trump, Netanyahu, Biden, or all the delusions of war colonizers and war criminals. They will run out of ways to erase us, but we will never run out of ways to exist. Gaza is Palestine and its people are rooted there. Gaza will rebuild, Gaza will flourish, and Gaza will rise, and the Palestinian people are not going anywhere. Trumpism is not just an American disease, it infects our politics here in Britain too. Our government welcomes Trump, courts his allies, and paves the way for the very policies that harm people at home and abroad. And we say, not in our name. We are here to fight for something better, for peace, not endless war,
for social justice, not billionaire greed, for a world where every community, every minority, every worker has the right to live with dignity and without fear. We must fight for a society that puts people before profit, dignity before division, and justice before power. Our message is simple. Another world is not only possible, it is necessary, and we are here to build it together. So please join us on October the 11th at the next national demonstration for Palestine. Let's make it the biggest one yet. And I'll end by saying, while Trump calls for the clean out of Gaza, we tell him the only clean out that's needed and the only clean out that will happen is the removal of Israeli colonial occupation from Palestinian land. Thank you. Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leanne. Will you please now welcome from Friends of the Earth, give a massive round of applause to Asaf Rehman!
Friends, we stand here today to send a message that this has never been about one man. It's always been about rejecting the politics he represents, a politics of hate, of injustice, oppression, a politics he has helped spread across the globe. And we're here to say very clearly to our Prime Minister that in the very week that fascists and far-right extremists stood on this exact spot, when black and brown people were told we are not welcome, when Muslims were called to be eradicated, when Elon Musk, the world's richest man, called for the violent overthrow of democracy, to then roll out the red carpet for Donald Trump. That's not diplomacy. It's normalizing bigotry. It's legitimizing billionaires who profit from planetary collapse. It makes our government complicit in his crimes. And friends, even as our planet burns and people drown and starve and suffer, Trump denies, Trump delays, and Trump destroys. His drill baby drill is burn baby burn for the poor. And he sides with the corporations that are ravaging the earth, that are polluting our air, our water, and our land. He undermines climate science. He sides with climate denialism, a denialism that is going hand to hand with his mission to make racism great again. He's built walls and imposed bans. He's torn crying children from the arms of their parents, scapegoating Muslims, migrants, black and brown people, embedding Islamophobia into laws and policies. He's turned violence into governance. But he's not alone. He's part of a global far-right alliance, from Bolsonaro in Brazil to Orban in Hungary, Modi in India, and Netanyahu in Israel. They demonize the other, they embrace authoritarianism, and they're backed by the billionaires, the corporations, and the financiers who want to see fascism as a path to profit, of ethno-nationalism, of misogyny and climate chaos. And what does it say about our own government's moral compass? That as the UN confirms that Israel is committing genocide, and Israeli leaders openly brag about bombing, starving, and erasing the Palestinian people, our Prime Minister hosts the Israeli president, laughing and smiling with those whose fingers are on the trigger. And now he invites Trump's, whose bombs and billions are being used to flatten Gaza. This is not politics. It's repugnant. And it's, let's be clear, it's that kind of politics, the rotten politics, that Trump wants to prevail here in Britain as well. And we here are pledging to stand in his way. And we have to say no to this axis of billionaires, fascists, and religious extremists. No to normalising genocide. No to saluting cruelty. No to bending the knee to misogyny. And no to staying silent in the face of ecocide and apartheid. And I want to just end. I want to end because when I stand in this square, I look around and I see the statue of Mahatma Gandhi, of Nelson Mandela and Melissa Fawcett. They represented the past, but we represent the future of the same fight for hope for humanity. Like them, we stand for justice, we stand for resistance, and we stand for solidarity. But we must not only defeat the politics that Trump represents, we have to be building something better around a vision of hope and solidarity, of peace, equality, and justice. So, friends, we have to move onwards towards climate justice, for racial justice, for Palestine, against fascism and against hate. Thank you. Solidarity.
Thank you, Assad. Assad Rehman from Friends of the Earth. Will you please now welcome the new leader of the Green Party? Please welcome Zach Polanski.
Friends, of course we should have a relationship with an American president, but that is very different to what we are seeing today. A man with hands stained in blood for an ongoing genocide, having the red carpet, pomp and ceremony all rolled out for him, and we are gathered here united to say, this is not in our name. Donald Trump is not welcome here, but one man who has thrown his arms open is Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage. Very good reaction. Nigel Farage does not seem to bother about Trump's trade wars, about his banning of books, the so-called free speech champion. He doesn't seem bothered about the genocide in Gaza or his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And that's because Donald Trump is a bully and Nigel Farage, he's his poodle. And it's not just Trump and Farage, we also have Elon Musk, this trio of con men who are so much a part of Brexit. They represent the inequality in our country, where since the pandemic started, the billionaire wealth in this country has doubled and our assets have been stripped away. And to see these multimillionaires and billionaires, people who are earning more money in their sleep than any of us could possibly imagine, lecture us about British values, about patriotism, is the exact opposite of what we need. So, what do we need? It's right here, right now. This is the answer to Saturday's marches. Racists in the streets chanting. The antidote to that is community organizing. People coming together, having conversations. We must condemn Tommy Robinson. We must condemn reform MPs. But we must not condemn those people in the country who are feeling scared right now, who are not feeling listened to, who have suffered the consequences of decades of austerity and have been left behind. This is the moment to challenge everything Donald Trump stands for. This is the moment to reject the politics of hate and division, and instead, finally, put at the center the politics of hope, of community, of togetherness and solidarity. And friends, together, that's how we'll change our towns, our cities, our country, and together we can change the world. Thank you and solidarity.
Thank you, Zach Polanski. We're now going to be joined by some camera crews from some news agencies that are going to film all of you. So people down the front, if you're skipping work, you're in a lot of trouble. Okay? And your boss happens to work in German television. So what I'm going to ask you to do is on three, give me a say it loud and say it clear. Donald Trump's not welcome here, okay? 1, 2, 3. Say it loud, say it clear. Say it loud, say it clear. And now just give one huge round of applause for all of the speakers that you've seen on this stage. I'm also going to throw this J.D. Vance ball into the audience, which may be a bad idea given that I actually have one hand free. Hang on a second. Are you going to do it? Why don't we also have a massive round of applause for our signers, everybody? The J.D. Vance ball is flying in the air. We are bouncing his distended head all over the shop. I'm now just checking to see that we have... Yeah, okay. Oh, amazing. Yeah. Okay, give us one more cheer. I think we've got... How long is this news report, lads? They're still filming. Keep applauding. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, will you please welcome our next speaker to the stand from Tax Justice UK. Please welcome the incredible Faiza Shaheen.
Thank you. Let me start by offering solidarity to those that were arrested last night for projecting images on Windsor Castle. Yeah. The truth shouldn't end you up in a prison cell. And it is a reminder that we are fighting something bigger than Trump. We might be rightly tired of a world run by the most disgusting, self-serving humans imaginable. But we are fighting more than those individuals. We're fighting the poison that they spread and the decay of humanity that they represent. Can you believe that they call this diplomacy? Tell that to the millions that have been bombed and moved by US bombs. Tell that to the children who have lost their legs, the children who have lost their parents. Tell that to the children who won't get to be adults in Gaza. They say that this is about building a stronger Britain. Well, tell that to the women who have lost their bodily autonomy, to the immigrants terrorized by ICE, and to the scientists silenced on climate change. They say this is about jobs and investment. Well, tell that to those of us that were scared to walk in our very streets on Saturday. Tell that to us that have been fighting the far right. Because we know there is a direct line from Trump's people to Tommy Robinson's people to Nigel Farage. We know that they are funded and supported and encouraged by the same people. And tonight, as they tuck into their carefully crafted starters at Windsor Castle, hate and division continues to seep into the minds of our young men. As they tuck into their posh dinners, where many warmongers have sat before them, our brothers and sisters in Gaza are being uprooted and murdered as they run for their lives. It's disgusting. It's just disgusting. And it made me so sick when I turned on the TV today and saw that the King's Guard were honoring Trump. And it's paid for by our money. This is a man that should be tried for war crimes. And you know that sickness, that anger that we feel, we must use it. We must channel it for change. And let me say this directly to Keir Starmer. Because tonight, you are not greenlighting some new era of prosperity for the UK. You are greenlighting genocide and hate and lies and division. You are normalizing hatred. You are dining with the friends of pedophiles. And you may feel comfortable with the defenders of paedophiles and the funders of the murder of innocent children. But we are not. And don't think you are clever by curtailing our right to protest. Because let's be clear, this will not end well for you or your government. There is no logic, no amount of investment you can dangle, no gaslighting or propaganda that can make us see this otherwise and what it really is. We know that a so-called tech deal is really you selling us out. That is code for lining the pockets of the super rich. So, my friends, let them feast in their gilded halls tonight. Let them cling their classes and try and forget the sins that they are committing. For tonight, they may dine in a castle's light, but tomorrow, we are the people that will judge them. We are the tide that they cannot turn, and we are the reckoning that they will face. Thank you. Free Palestine.
Reza Shaheen. Now, before we bring the next speaker, it's time for everyone's favourite thing, admin. Please, can I just get everyone to scrunch in and not be on the roads? We're just trying to get people off the roads. Obviously, there's people who are trying to commute. We also just want to keep the roads clear, so scrunch in. Now that I have suitably deflated the atmosphere, will you please join me in welcoming to the stage Member of Parliament, Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to all the organisers for organising it. And look around yourselves. Look around the crowd. What are we? Young, old, black, white, men, women, LGBT, straight. We are the community. We are the people. And we will not be divided. This is Donald Trump's second state visit to Britain. The last one was slightly more public than this one. He actually came to almost into Parliament, but he was banned from Parliament by the then Speaker, John Bercow. So he went off somewhere else. I can't remember where it was he went off. But they didn't like the idea of all those demonstrations wherever he went. And so this time he's really mixing with the people, airport, helicopter, ambassador's residence, helicopter, Windsor Castle, helicopter, Chequers, helicopter, airport, Air Force One back home. So he's seen all the best of Britain. But well done to those people that managed to get the laser pictures onto Windsor Castle. Very nice. And well done those that got ad vans going around Windsor, telling them what's what. And there's something very sinister about our times when peaceful protest becomes terrorism, when an ad van going around Windsor Castle perfectly legally is then stopped by the police, taken away, and those people prevented from expressing a point of view. This is what's happening to our democratic rights and democratic values in our society. They take away the right to protest because they don't want us to protest. That is why we've got to be here today and all the other days, making our voice very, very clear. Now, what Donald Trump represents is actually not the sort of economic and democratic populism that he preaches to people in the USA who've seen their communities hollowed out, their jobs destroyed, and their manufacturing industry diced up, sliced up, and sold off. He pretends he offers them a solution. He doesn't. He's actually part of the moneyed elite that has taken part in all that hollowing out of all those Rust Belt towns in the USA and elsewhere. It is a massive con that he puts in front of the people. He represents the grotesque levels of economic inequality in the USA and also the grotesque levels of economic inequality that exist in Britain that are now getting worse following the economic strategies that Starmer is following, which is once more austerity 2.0. Trump also represents social divisions, the endless denunciation of people he's probably never heard of before, with something they may have said, done, or not even done. But what he does by creating all of those divisions is actually promote the disgusting growth of racism in the USA, immigration raids on factories, homes, train stations, bus stations, and everywhere else. The level of fear that's there is enormous. I'll give you an example of how fearful people are in the USA. I was in Jamaica earlier this year doing some education work and things. And I met somebody who managed a hotel in Jamaica. It was Easter time. And I said, oh, you'll be busy at Easter. He said, no, hotel's empty. And I said, well, that's a bit strange. Easter, empty. So all of our Jamaican Americans that normally come home for Easter are frightened to come home to Jamaica just for a few days holiday back home because they're afraid, despite having all the paperwork and approval, will not be allowed back in the USA. That is the climate of fear that he has created all across the USA, with immigration raids, mass deportations, and sending people to the most appalling, torturous conditions in other countries. We have to protest against that because what we have is him feeding in to the far right in the USA. This is what Elon Musk has been doing. That's why Elon Musk was so keen to be seen with Stephen Yaxley Lennon at the weekend here, albeit on video. He's got another name, but I'm not going to repeat it on stage. And so we are here to demand something different. We want a society where children don't grow up in poverty, where parents don't have to wait for the food bank on a Friday in order to be sure they can feed their children over the weekend. Want to grow up in a society where children are not so over-tested and over-stressed by our education system that they end up with mental health conditions in their mid-teen years. We need something different and better in our society. You only achieve that by the politics of bringing people together. You don't achieve that by government ministers led by the Prime Minister, somehow or other blaming desperate people on leaky boats trying to get to a place of safety as if they are the cause of underfunding of hospitals, schools, care homes, and everything else. Almost 10 years ago to the day, I stood in this square and demanded justice for refugees, justice for those people seeking asylum, and a society that looked to and cared for all. What we now have is people being proud of the number they can deport from this country. Those people that are seeking asylum are victims of many things: environmental disaster, human rights abuses, but particularly they're victims of war. They're victims of the wars that we've created in Afghanistan, Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, and the war that is now going on in Palestine, where the people of Gaza are being bombed to death by planes, part of which are manufactured in Britain. And when you supply arms to a country that has already been found guilty of the war crime of genocide, it doesn't end there. It makes you, the supplier of the wherewithal to continue the genocide, equally guilty of the genocide. And so this is also a demonstration in support of the Palestinian people. The aggression against the Palestinian people, the bombardment of Gaza, the continued killing of people on the West Bank, and the Greater Israel plan of taking over many other neighboring countries and a second Nakba are all only made possible by the decisions of the US, and in particular, the US president in providing the political, economic, and military cover for Israel to do it. So our message to Donald Trump is, don't tell us about peace unless you intend to stop supplying arms to Israel, which are killing so many Palestinian people. And our message to our own government is, you know full well what the social divisions are in this country. You know full well what the needs are around the world. What have you done? Cut overseas aid, tried to cut benefits for people with disabilities on personal independence payments, refused to end the disgraceful two-child benefit cap, refused to compensate the WASPy women, and continued an economic policy which impoverishes so many in our society. So you are creating those divisions at the same time trying to spend £13 billion per year more on armaments, nuclear weapons, and so-called defence. Can't we instead have a government that's determined to achieve peace around the world by diplomatic means, by economic means, and by supporting people under oppression? So our demonstration here today is a demonstration of our strength, our unity, and our determination not to allow others to divide us. And if you could put something in your mind, in your head, better still in your diary, on your phone or somewhere else, October the 11th, be here in London if you can. We want to make it the biggest ever demonstration in support of the people of Palestine. Please be there. Thank you very much.
Jeremy Corbyn, everybody! Will you please welcome a journalist who's taken a very principled and courageous stand? Please start clapping and cheering and welcome the incredible Karishma Patel!
Last year, I left the BBC over its deplorable coverage of Israel's genocide in Gaza. Thank you so much. This was coverage I saw across the entire mainstream media landscape. It refused to hold Israel to account, and now we're watching it refuse to challenge the far right. We've been watching mainstream media overly platform reform. We've watched it obsess over Nigel Farage, painting him as ingenious rather than dangerous, as legitimate rather than a liar. We've seen reporters tallying votes at Dover, correspondents giddily counting how many councils are taking legal action against asylum seekers in hotels. We've seen vulnerable human lives reduced to the euphemism small boats. We've essentially been watching our biggest news organizations pave the way for the far right to come into power here like it has in the United States, allowing reform's talking points to poison the well of public discourse. Unevidenced far-right rhetoric around migration has been allowed to dominate the public conversation around how this country could be better. This rhetoric has been allowed to distract people from the real issues around inequality and austerity. And this Labour government, instead of standing firm against the far right, instead of taking steps to make this country better, has joined the far right in its mission to demonize asylum seekers, to hurt those who come to our shores seeking safety, seeking kindness, seeking grace. We will not sleepwalk into a world of such cruelty. The media, in the end, will not save us. This Labour government, in the end, will not save us. It's up to us to turn up on these streets when fascism knocks at the door, and it is here, in the form of Trump, in the form of Farage, in the form of hundreds of thousands marching with their England flags and chanting, "Stop the boats." Life in this country has been gutted. Funding from the NHS has been ripped away, funding from schooling, for youth centres, for local communities. Money doesn't go far enough, house prices are through the roof, and the far right, these millionaires, these billionaires, who never get held to account, are promising people they can repair their broken lives, repair their broken communities with deportations, with harsh anti-migration policies, scapegoating asylum seekers, scapegoating diversity on the whole. Only a compassionate leftist politics tackling austerity and inequality can begin to repair this damage. And that's what we must call for, passionately, relentlessly, in the face of Donald Trump, in the face of Nigel Farage, in the face of Tommy Robinson and anyone else sowing discord in this country. I can hear the boots from last century marching down the decades towards us, the boots of men who were just doing their jobs. We've been watching a genocide unfold across 2 years, while those providing support and cover are safely meeting as we speak. I'm afraid of the world forming around us, of history repeating itself so clearly, so blatantly. Once again, the vulnerable and minoritized are being blamed, scapegoated, and harmed. Once again, hate is becoming a popular movement. Impunity is in the air, and we must demand accountability. I often turn to a quote from John Steinbeck, who says, "All the goodness and heroisms will rise up again, be cut down and rise up." It isn't that the evil thing wins. It's that it never will, but it doesn't die. And we have to keep fighting. It's time for us to take our place in the long line of the protest without end. Ours is a politics of love. Theirs is a politics of division. We have to make ourselves heard. And tonight, I think we have. Thank you so much.
Karishma Patel, will you please now welcome to the stage from Save British Farming, give a massive round of applause to Ollie Fletcher.
Hello, I speak for Save British Farming. We have brought our tractor, you might see over there, and we are very proud to stand with you today because we fight against substandard food. We do not want chlorinated chicken coming into this country. We do not want hormone-fed beef. Trump has come to this country to refine his trade deal. He will be dining with the king, trying to convince Starmer to sign a free trade agreement. We must make sure they know that our food standards and our health are off the table. Starmer has forced through the UK-US economic prosperity deal without parliamentary scrutiny. He used a negative procedure and a statutory instrument. Parliament in this country is no longer sovereign. The executive is, with their unelected advisors. If, while dining with the king, Starmer is convinced to sign a free trade agreement with America, British farmers will not be able to compete on price with the processed American slop. Our standards are too high and our regulations are too strict. But if Starmer signs away our food security, if Starmer signs away our food production to appease Trump, he will also be signing away our security. We will be reliant on America for our sustenance. They will have us by the neck. He will also be signing away our environment. We have our animal welfare regulations and our environmental measures for a reason. And he will be signing away our health. We do not want chlorinated chicken to be forced into our homes.
Starmer is chlorinated chicken.
But perhaps most crucially, an American free trade agreement threatens our democracy. The UK-US economic prosperity deal has set a precedent whereby the executive makes decisions about what we can eat and what we can buy in the shops without Parliament looking at it at all. When the Conservatives tried to get a free trade agreement, we managed to stop it by saying that we will not eat chlorinated chicken, just as our NHS is not for sale. It's an honour to have stood with you today. Do come and say hello by the tractor. Thank you very much.
Ollie Fletcher, everybody. Will you now please welcome from the CND, start clapping and cheering and welcome Sophie Bolt.
Thanks very much. It's so amazing to see so many of you, tens of thousands of people on the streets against the disgusting Donald Trump. He's not welcome here, is he? We know that he's an absolutely massive threat to all of us. He's facilitating genocide in Gaza. He's pushed those NATO states to rearm on a huge scale across Europe and here in Britain, and massively increased the military spending of these governments. And of course, he's emboldening the far right and fascists across the globe. Boom. He's doing this to try and maintain the US as the #1 superpower in the world. But it's this US-led world order that has got us here, isn't it? To genocide, to climate breakdown, to global poverty, and the rising threat of nuclear annihilation. And now, Trump's deadly new nuclear weapons are stationed across Europe and here in Britain at a NATO base in Lakenheath, just 70 miles from here. Now, these nuclear bombs are designed by the US specifically for war. Just one bomb has a destructive power to kill over 600,000 people and release deadly radiation, poisoning people, our ecosystems, and causing cancers for generations. And Lakenheath, this military base where these US nuclear weapons are based, has also been directly involved in Israel's genocidal war against the Palestinians. So we say these bases like Lakenheath, these bases of death, they need to be shut down. We need to end this so-called special relationship with the US because it's just dragging us towards war after war after war. And these wars are getting more and more dangerous and more reckless. And these nuclear bombs that are stationed at Lakenheath, they could be used in these reckless wars. And that makes all of us a massive target. Because we know the risks of nuclear weapons being used in war is growing. Poland is calling on NATO to create a so-called no-fly zone over Ukraine. This would bring the US directly into war with Russia, the two biggest nuclear powers in the world. So we have to do absolutely everything we can to stop this. Now, not surprisingly, the majority of the British population oppose Trump's nukes being deployed here in Britain. We totally understand how these nuclear weapons put us all in danger. And that's why this Saturday we're protesting at Lakenheath to say loud and clear that neither Trump nor his nuclear bombs are welcome here. CND is proud to be part of a strong tradition of non-violent protests at military bases. From Greenham Common to Lakenheath, we forced the US to withdraw their nuclear weapons before, and we'll do it again. So if you can, join us on Saturday, because another world is possible, and we must secure it. Solidarity.
Sophie Bolt from the CND. Will you please now join me in welcoming to the stage the author and campaigner, the incredible George Monbiot?
What is the barest minimum we should expect from any Labour government? To stand up fiercely and consistently against the far right. But what do we see instead? An extraordinary succession of senior Labour ministers embracing the far right, encouraging the far right, legitimising the far right. For example, we had Jonathan Reynolds, then the business secretary, saying that the protesters, the far-right racists mobilising outside that hotel in Epping were upset for legitimate reasons. No government minister has said that about our Palestine protests. No government minister has said that about our climate protests, but they say it about the far-right protests. We had the Home Secretary at the time, Yvette Cooper, when the far-right thugs were spray marking their territory with Union Jacks, she said, put them up anywhere. Direct encouragement of the far right from a Labour minister. We had just last week, Peter Kyle, the new business secretary, describing the thugs who mobilised here with Tommy Robinson, their violent protest. He said this was free speech in action. Again, a direct endorsement. And of course, we had Keir Starmer channeling Enoch Powell by saying we're becoming an island of strangers. We are entering, ladies and gentlemen, a fully fledged ownernocracy, rule of the wankers. In whose name do they speak? Do they speak in the name of the founders of the Labour Party who created that magnificent movement against the far right, against oligarchy, against economic power? No, they do not. Do they speak in the name of the heroes, including 3 of my great uncles who fought and died to prevent the far right from taking power in this country? No, they do not. Do they speak in our name? No! No, they do not. They have aligned themselves with the very worst elements of our politics today and our historical politics. They have put themselves on the wrong side of history. And now to cap it all, they invite this great wobbly villain with his fat orange face and his tiny hands from across the sea, the fascist in chief, the sex abuser in chief, the con man in chief, the inciter of violence in chief, and they bring him here and accord him all the honours of the state. In doing so, they dishonour us and they dishonour themselves. By contrast, here are the heroes. All the heroes are here. I speak after one fantastic person after another, standing up for the values of inclusion and tolerance and kindness and generosity, the values that we thought the Labour Party was supposed to stand for. By rolling out the red carpet for Trump, they encourage every two-bit racist and white supremacist to come out of the woodwork and proudly proclaim their grotesque views. And the result of that is that by rolling out the red carpet for Trump, they are rolling out the red carpet for Nigel Farage. How did the Labour Party become the enablers of Nigel Farage? Well, ask Keir Starmer that. The Labour Party has been captured by its traditional enemies, by a bunch of right-wing creeps who should have no place at the head of that party. And unless Labour MPs revolt against that takeover and kick out from the citadel of power, not just Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper, but also the likes of Morgan McSweeney and Maurice Glassman, they will never recover what that party stands for, and they will consign it to oblivion. Don't get me wrong, I want them to do that. I want there to be a strong and true Labour Party connected to its roots. But I also see that an essential part of our future now lies with the alternatives. And we have heard this evening from some of the guiding bright lights of that alternative politics, from Jeremy Corbyn, from Zara Sultana, from Zach Polanski. Now, I don't care. I'm a pragmatist. I don't care who gets in a particular seat as long as they represent us, as long as they give us a sense that there is some hope that our country might actually get better for the people who live here, not just for the oligarchs. As long as they build a country which ceases to blame asylum seekers for the crimes of the oligarchs. Then we will have a politics which works for us and not for the likes of Donald Trump. It is not just Trump who is unwelcome here. It is those who grovel before him. Thank you.
George Monbiot! Will you please now join me in welcoming to the stage from Disabled People Against Cuts? Give a massive round of applause to Andy Green!
Whoa, Trump is a waste man. Whoa, Trump is a waste man.
Trump is a waste man. Oh, Trump is a waste man.
Solidarity from Disabled People Against Cuts. Okay. This fucker is dangerous, right? Because we know that what he says from the highest seat resonates down onto the school yard and the bullies who operate there and on the streets and in the workplaces and in our communities. His attitudes and actions are reflected in our daily lives. And we know that his attitude towards disabled people, migrants, and other marginalized groups is absolutely horrific. And his language and his actions is absolutely dangerous. We know when you start to utter and marginalize and pick on groups that are seen as not able to fight back, what happens? People are pushed to the edges. People are forgotten and fall through the cracks. Not us, not disabled people. We have fought back every single time in this country and around the world, and we will continue to do that. We understand that the way you push back against these bullies is to come out onto the streets, to reclaim these spaces, to reclaim your voices, and to tell your own story, because we won't have our stories written without us. We will not be written out of our own stories. We have fought for and earned our place in this society and in communities and societies across the globe. We understand what resistance and organized resistance means. It means supporting one another. It means showing solidarity, and it means turning up. So give yourselves a big round of applause for turning up and showing solidarity this evening. Trump might go away at some point, but this politics won't. And we have to keep turning up on these streets and every street around the world, because we cannot let this ideology take hold. We have seen where it leads,
and it is absolutely not happening again, not on our watch. So not just for these few days, but continuously in support of the people of Palestine, in support of disabled people, in support of people coming to this country, wanting to contribute and build a better life. We say solidarity, we're here together and we're not going anywhere. All the best, folks.
Thank you very much, Andy Green. Give it up. Listen, there's no easy way to say this. I've got someone's freedom pass. Someone has dropped their freedom pass. The name on it is Martina Rohr. That's R-O-H-R. If my A-level German is still functioning, I think that pronunciation is correct. Martina, if you are still here, somebody will have it down the front there. Otherwise, I'm keeping it and will be exercising my right to free travel on London public transport. Okay, thank you, yes. Cheers for fraud. It's time for our next speaker. Will you please join me in welcoming from Freedom from Torture, Kolbasia Hausu!
Thank you, thank you. Wow. Friends, when we look around today, we see empty fridges, long hospital waiting lists, families sleeping on the street, community caught in economic despair. These are not inevitable. They are not accident fate. Yet somehow we taught to believe that they are the fault of immigrants, of minorities, of so-called workness. Always an enemy within, always someone without power. This is the old trick of fear and division. It is made more dangerous when politicians speak with hatred or when our leaders stay silent. And last weekend, we saw what happened when a lie is dressed up as a revolution. People march for not justice, but in a service of chaos. I speak to you not as an observer, but as someone who has lived. Okay, thank you. So I speak to you not as an observer, but as someone who has lived this before. In the country many of us come from, we warn you how freedom can be taken away, oppression reigns supreme, human right does not exist. That is our past. But here is the truth. Our lived experience is not just history, it is a warning. We are time travelers, carrying lessons from our past into your present to show you the future that is unraveling right now. I have seen this movie before, and it doesn't end well. In my life, I have known torture. I know what it means when powerful people like Donald Trump say torture absolutely works. These words are not just talk, they are permissions. Permission for regime across the world to abuse, to silence, to destroy. And when democracy like the UK stays silent, dictators everywhere celebrate. But here is the thing. Thank you. But here is the thing. Hatred cannot be answered with hatred. And justice cannot be cured with more injustice. If we allow anger to be manipulated, we will join in scapegoating, then we will lose. This is why we stand here today. not only for immigrants, not only for Muslim, not only for women, but for everyone. For everyone. Because if they take away rights from one group, they can take them away from all of us. That is why we need compassion. We need calm heart, clear mind, and the courage to resist the oldest lie of all, that your neighbor is your enemy. Thank you. We are at the crossroad. We can choose silence or we can choose to speak. We can choose division or we can choose solidarity. I say to you, stand up, stand together, stand firm, because the fight against torture, against hate, against oppression, it is not only about protecting some of us, it is about protecting all of us. Thank you. And the world is watching us. We need to choose. Thank you.
Hausu, give it up, everybody! Now, we're joined by a very special guest from Fossil Free London with some very exciting information about something that has happened within the last 24 hours. Please give a massive round of applause and welcome to the stage, Robin!
Woo! Never thought I'd be introduced by Nish Kumar. Very exciting. Hello, everyone. I'm Robin from Fossil Free London. And what we do is we go into places where oily men are making decisions to send our lives into chaos, and we shout truth to power at them. Thank you! Yes, this is the energy we want. And because I only feel comfortable speaking to a group of people if we're chanting, let's have a chant. When I say fossil free, you say London, fossil free! Fossil free! Oh, beautiful, thank you. Now I can relax. So, last night we spoke at the Republicans' gala dinner. Just 1 minute from Windsor Castle, wearing a very Arabella dress, I chinked the glass, stood up, and proposed a toast. And like that, I told an assembled room of Republicans exactly what drill, baby, drill means for us and everyone in the world. And make no mistake, it means billions of lives lost. And that's not according to us campaigners. That's not even according to climate scientists. That's according to the straight-laced, bureaucratic men and women who work in insurance, in deciding what your life insurance scheme should be. Those people think, and really listen to this, that in the next 25 years, 4 billion people could lose their lives to climate collapse. This is enormous. This is half the world's population losing their lives in my lifetime and most of your lifetimes for a preventable crisis. But what I want to say is this. I am not an important person like Jeremy Corbyn or Faiza Shaheen or Nish Kumar. I am an ordinary person, an organiser, and we need so many more organisers to fight what we're facing. Because fascism, genocide, the collapse of our systems, this is overwhelming. And if we allow ourselves to feel the pain, we will not be able to get up. But if we unite, if we join together, if we plan strategy, if we join a group and commit to it, we can make change. But we need you. We need you. Last night we did an action. It's been seen by almost 1 million people. It's touched so many people. it almost didn't happen. One person made that action happen. One person. That person could be you. It's time to get organised, because all those fascists are only bound to lose if we are. Get organised, join a group. We've got a welcome talk tomorrow evening. Come to it or join another group. Commit, deliver, organise and unite. Thank you. Thank you.
Give it up for Robin, everybody! Now, will you please welcome to the stage from Stop the War, give a massive round of applause, whooping and cheering to Alex Kenny!
Thank you very much. Thanks, Nish. Thanks, everyone, for being here. My name's Alex. I'm the chair of the Stop the War Coalition. And despite Tommy Robinson's claims to have organised the biggest demonstration in history, Stop the War organised the biggest demonstration in our country's history against the Iraq War, where we had over 2 million people on the streets. We still hold the record. But let me tell you, we are now nearly 2 years in to the genocide in Gaza. And on October the 11th, which is almost bang on the anniversary of the start of the genocide, we are organising with the Palestine Coalition the next national demonstration. Put your hands up if you're going to be on that demonstration, because we need that to be the biggest one ever as we march through the streets of London and show that the streets are our streets, and we will keep marching until we see peace in Gaza. I want to talk to you about state visits, because just a week ago, Keir Starmer stood outside Downing Street and welcomed the Israeli president, Isaac Herzog, into Downing Street to talk to him on a state visit. Isaac Herzog is one of the authors of the genocide, the man who signs bombs before they're put on planes to be dropped on Gaza. And then today, he's welcomed Donald Trump, the man who thinks the way to bring peace to Gaza is to wipe out all the Gazans, move them out, and create a Riviera and a golf course in Gaza. What a disgrace that our government is giving audience to those people when it should be standing up to them. Remember that Donald Trump is the president who gave the green light to Israel bombing Iran and bombing Qatar against the UN regulations. That's a war crime to bomb those countries. So the world does feel a much less safe place when Donald Trump is in charge of the biggest superpower in this world. And it is astonishing, isn't it, that there are some people who are openly saying they think he should be given a Nobel Peace Prize. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? This is the man who is bringing terror at home to vulnerable people and terror abroad when he could be bringing a stop to it. He's bringing terror at home now with his talk of mass deportations and using the killing of Charlie Kirk to say there's going to be a crackdown on dissent. When he says there's going to be a crackdown on dissent, we know who he'll be cracking down on. It will be the people who are advocating for peace, the people who are advocating for justice for Gaza, the people who are advocating against mass deportations. So we should be very, very frightened about the future under Donald Trump, because, as others have said, he's emboldened the far right in our country. What we saw on the streets of London on Saturday was Trumpism in the UK. Stephen Bannon, I don't know if he turned up, but Stephen Bannon was due to speak at Tommy Robinson's rally. Elon Musk joined it by video link. He may have fallen out with Trump, but he believes in the politics of Trumpism. And can you imagine, Elon Musk on video link just down the road there said, called for violence, called for people to rise up, called for the overthrow of the British government. Can you imagine if one of the speakers here today had called for the overthrow of our government or called for violence on the streets? You won't hear us saying that, but can you imagine that Elon Musk was allowed to do that on our streets of London? My final message to you is As others have said, we're living through very polarized times. There's a real polarization in our society, not just here, but abroad. And it feels very, very scary for my generation, for future generations. And it feels like we're in a battle. We're in a battle for the soul of our country. We're in a battle for the soul of the world. So my call to you, and I join with others in making that call, is that we have to unite the struggles. We have to put aside some of the differences we've got, as we've done on countless times, and unite the struggles against racism, unite the struggles against the genocide in Gaza, unite the struggles against injustice everywhere, and come together in common cause. And I hope we can start doing that, as I've said, on October the 11th, on the next national demonstration for Gaza. We need that to be the biggest one ever. So please make sure you're there. Please make sure you're bringing your friends, your family, and your work colleagues. Solidarity, free, 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 free. Thank you very much.
Give it up for Alex from Stop the War. Will you please welcome our next speaker, a trans and human rights campaigner. Please welcome Dr. Natasha Kennedy.
In the US, Trump has introduced loads of anti-trans measures, banning trans healthcare, encouraging bullying of trans kids in schools, sports bans for trans kids, including proposing genital inspections for girls' sports, making universities more transphobic, encouraging media disinformation about trans people. And the Trump election campaign spent $215 million on anti-trans adverts, the biggest single expenditure in their campaign. And now Trump is trying to use the Kirk shooting as an excuse to ban trans people from owning guns, which is exactly what the Nazis did to the Jews in 1938. Trump has created such a climate of fear amongst trans people in the US that many of my trans and non-binary friends there now live in exile in Europe and elsewhere. But yet, most of what Trump is doing in the US is also happening right here in the UK under a Labour government. The healthcare bans, trans Section 28 in schools, a media churning out transphobia on an industrial scale while hermetically excluding trans journalists, banning us from sports, including fun runs, supporting people who advocate violence against trans people, trying to make universities more transphobic, a toilet ban which would make life impossible for us, an even worse one than in the US. All of which have been brought in without any vote in Parliament at all. And yes, a lot of British trans people have also already moved abroad to places like Ireland, Spain, and Sweden. We know that what happens in the US comes over here. And we need to ask, has Starmer sold out trans people for a deal with the orange fascists? Transphobia is now central to fascism. It's not peripheral, it's front and centre. It's a core component of fascism. If you're transphobic, you are a fascist. To quote inspirational trans woman Monroe Bergdorf, how politicians treat trans people now is indicative of how they will treat everyone eventually. To finish, I just want to say, I'm also here for my grandfather. He was killed in World War II fighting fascism. He didn't roll out the red carpet. He fought fascists. We need to stop fascism now, or more and more people will die. There's no cavalry coming over the hill this time to rescue us. The cavalry is going to have to be us, here, now. And it will be. But it will take hard work, and stamina. And as they say in Spain, sí se puede, yes, we can. Trans people in this country have been fighting under the cosh of vicious right-wing propaganda for more than a decade. And we are still here and we will keep fighting and never give up. The fascists and their media want everyone to feel defeated, but we must never give up. That's what they want. All of us together, we can and must do this. Keep fighting and we will win. Love and rage.
Thank you, Natasha. Please continue that applause and please welcome to the stage an activist from UK Black Lives Matter. Please welcome Kojo Chirawa.
Solidarity, comrades. It's great to see so many people out here, and it's a real privilege to be here and speak on behalf of Black Lives Matter UK. Right now, many people are frightened and shocked by the growth of the far right. They have seen in London last week over 100,000 protesters marching for Tommy Robinson. This was the largest ever far-right march in British history. And it was supported and funded by apartheid Clyde, the richest man on the planet, Elon Musk. Anti-fascists organized, but they were outnumbered, more than 20-1. But this is not the full story. Right now, Musk, Trump, Farage, Robinson, they want us to feel small. They want us to feel afraid. But the truth is, we are the majority, not them. We've already proven it. In recent months, in recent years, we have brought people out in their millions for Black lives and for Palestine. They want us to forget that. We will not let them win. We need to think about how we organize, as a previous speaker has said. Right now, as we think about their growth, we actually need to think about our collective power. Because what we saw on the streets was not their strength. It was a racist retaliation against our collective power. And so when we see these fascist boneheads march, they're doing it because they're clinging onto a racist and rotten past, which is shaped by white supremacist myths. But when we organize, we are organizing for a future that is rooted in care, in solidarity, and in the basic fact of our shared humanity. And friends, we know where their politics leads. Their path, it leads to more race riots, greater inequality, and ultimately a genocide. Where does our politics lead? Where is our strength? We know that when we look at our history, our path causes us to win greater freedoms for all. We win greater dignity for all. We win greater equality and justice for all. And that's what they hate. That's what they want us to forget. How dare these sexist bastards claim that they are marching to protect women and girls? How dare they? We know Trump and Musk is a greater danger to women than anyone in those hotels. And we need to, our traditions, feminism, anti-racism, our traditions stand up for survivors. Survivors like the Sikh woman in the West Midlands, who took a brave stand to speak out against the racists who attacked her. They told her to leave the country. Absolutely despicable. They don't care about women's bodies. They want to control women's bodies. So when we're faced with this daunting task of fascists on our streets, organizing in their tens of thousands, we have to look back at our history and claim the heritage of generations that have gone before us. Generations before us have faced fascism worse than what we're facing today, and they've won. Generations before us, racialized working class communities, they organized and stood up to Mosley and the Black Shirts in the 1930s. They stood up and fought the National Front in the 70s and 80s. My generation organized and stood up to the EDL in the 2010s and the 2010s, so the 2000s and 2010s. Right now, we claim that heritage. We organize in that tradition. We organize and we can win. This is what we must do today. So, my friends, take hope. Take heart. Organize with us. Black Lives Matter UK. You can find us. I should do a quick plug. You can find us on Instagram, BLM UK, or online on UK, conversely, ukblm.org. We're organizing an anti-racist network. We need new organizations, but we need to bring people who are already organizing together. They might have billionaires on their side, but we have the hope of billions. So friends, I'm going to end with just a few more words. We can't lose faith. We must be steadfast. As people are under a genocide, are fighting and still resisting, so must we. They want us to choose, they want despair. We must choose courage. They want us to be afraid, and we must choose hope. They are choosing hate, but we must choose love. Let's organize together, and let's take the promise of generations before us. Their slogan was, here to stay, here to fight. We say Black Lives Matter because we believe in the same thing. Here to stay, here to fight. Here to stay, here to fight. Here to stay, here to fight. Black Lives Matter, solidarity.
Kojo Chiro, everybody! We have 3 speakers left. Will you please join me in welcoming the first of them from the Jewish Socialist Group? Please welcome Sue Levi-Hughes.
Hi, everybody. We've heard speakers talking about the horrors of Trump and how we have to fight. I'm going to now look at it from a Jewish perspective. There is real dangers for the Jewish community, not just in America, but around the world. ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, are fast becoming a secret police force. That's an essential element of a fascist state. ICE has used the pretext of combating anti-Semitism to target dissenters of the regime, individuals and groups who support the rights of Palestinians and are critical of the genocide in Israel. They're targeted and they're slandered. This, of course, includes many Jewish organizations and individuals. Trump has a long history of anti-Semitic rhetoric. He repeats anti-Semitic tropes and stereotypes and has ridiculed some Jewish Americans, accusing them of hating Israel because they don't actually support his extremism. Trump aligns with and emboldens dangerous right-wing extremists. He has refused to condemn white supremacy and instead incited right-wing extremists such as the Proud Boys. Do you remember those Proud Boys who had those T-shirts that had whatever it was 6 million wasn't enough. And he loved those guys. Yes. History has shown us when we live under the rule of dictators who accept no check on their authority, it spells danger for all minority groups, including the Jewish community. We know there can't be any secure future for Jews, other minorities, working people, and the unemployed under an economic system that promotes greed over need, a system that's completely personified by Trump. But there's so much hope, as other speakers have said. Sorry. We on the Jewish left join our Jewish comrades in New York City, and we endorse Zohran Mamdani for mayor. Even my paper got excited then. Mamdani brings together all the diverse communities of New York by addressing the real challenges that they face, the greed of landlords and billionaires that have made living in the city unaffordable. And when people of all backgrounds recognize it's not the migrant that's exploiting them, they unite. This makes Mamdani very dangerous to Trump. We join his many supporters in America and those like him across the world to fight for a better future, for an internationalist, socialist world, free from war, poverty, and discrimination. Thank you.
Sue Levi Hughes, everybody from the Jewish Socialist Group. We now have a speaker from Amnesty International UK. Please give a massive round of applause and welcome Amika!
Tonight, Donald Trump will enjoy a lavish taxpayer-funded banquet with Keir Starmer and King Charles. As they are served champagne and a multi-course meal, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians face mass starvation, displacement, and a horrific genocide. And Israel is shamefully supported by the US and UK governments. As F-35 military jets fly over the east lawn of Windsor Castle this evening, the same jets with parts made here continue to fly over occupied Gaza, contributing to the mass killing of Palestinians and the destruction of homes, hospitals, and schools. As Trump and Starmer dine in Windsor Castle tonight, we know that communities of colour in the US are being terrorised by masked ICE agents. We know that closer to home, people of colour are being terrorised by racist bullies on our streets. In the US, LGBTQI+ communities are forced to live in fear as their own government pledges to eradicate them. Here, boo! Here, our government have still failed to ban conversion therapy, and trans communities are being denied their basic rights. In the US, people seeking safety are brutalized and then deported to countries where they face imprisonment, torture, or worse. Here, rather than defending people's right to sanctuary when fleeing from repression and conflict, Starmer is leading a race to the bottom of performative cruelty against those seeking refuge. In the US, those who bravely speak out against injustice are targeted and unlawfully detained for months. Here, draconian measures are used to restrict freedom of speech and criminalize protest, while people peacefully opposing genocide are targeted and labeled terrorists. Rights fought for through decades of activism and campaigning are being ripped away. It's happening there, it's happening here, and it's happening now. We deserve so much better. We deserve a government that calls out authoritarian practices. But we have a prime minister who rolls out the red carpet for Trump. We deserve a government that defends and protects our freedoms, but we have a prime minister who allows basic human rights and dignity to be attacked. Instead of standing up for our right to housing, warmth, and food, Keir Starmer is overseeing rising wealth inequality and tries to slash universal credit and personal independence payments, knowingly forcing disabled people into poverty. Instead of tackling the root causes of racist violence and ensuring people of colour are properly protected, Starmer echoes Enoch Powell and has claimed immigration makes us an island of strangers. As certain politicians pledge mass deportations of our friends, our colleagues, our neighbours, our government panders to the calls of the far right, declaring migrant communities will be detained and sent back. Make no mistake, it's happening there, it's happening here, and it's happening now. But we are not powerless. We have a choice and we know another way is possible. Throughout history, we've seen authoritarianism come and we've seen it go. We've seen fascists on our streets, but they haven't won. We've seen thousands protest genocide and communities stand up to apartheid regimes and occupying forces, and they have won. So we don't need to imagine what our resistance should look like. We know what it requires. It's up to us to stand up and refuse to allow our rights to be stripped away overnight. It's up to us to stand together, to build genuine solidarity and systems of support for those whose rights are being attacked. It's up to us to stand firm against injustice and authoritarianism when our political leaders lack the courage to. But most importantly, it's up to us to remain hopeful. Mariam Kaba said that hope is a discipline, and maintaining it in the face of such explicit darkness in the world requires huge courage. We can only do this together, and we will only do this together. Building a new world starts today. It has clearly started today. Standing up together, standing up, always will win. Because it's happening there, it's happening here, and it's happening now. Together we will resist, because there are more of us than them. Thank you.
Amika! We've got one more speaker and then we'll bring out all of the Stop Trump people on stage. But will you please welcome our final actual speaker of the afternoon? Please welcome the journalist, Taj Ali!
Thank you very much. I'm sure you've heard a lot of condemnation of Donald Trump today, so I'm not going to give you more condemnation, otherwise you wouldn't be here. We have to face an uncomfortable reality. Mr. Donald Trump was elected twice in the United States. The Reform Party are on track to be the largest party in government at the next general election. We have far-right parties. We have far-right parties in Europe, either in government or in governing coalitions. So we need to understand, how do we defeat these people? What do we do next? Firstly, we have to understand the people that voted for Donald Trump and the people that are voting for reform. Where do they come from? In some of the most deprived parts of the country, areas that have lost industry, areas that have lost communities built around industry, places where there is no sense of hope, places where there is no social infrastructure, your pubs, your parks, your places where people can come together. Those are the places that people like Donald Trump and Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson, those are the places that they exploit. Those people are angry, and they're right to be angry. We are angry as well. We are angry about the lack of investment in working class communities. We are angry about the decline of our industries. We are angry about the decline of our communities. And that is what we fight for. Because the working class in Britain is not just white, it is black, it is Asian, it is LGBT. It is a migrant worker as well, the most exploited workers in Britain. So we are right to be angry. But who are we angry at? Are we angry at a man who comes on a small boat with his belongings in a bag from a war-torn country that often our own government have destabilized in the name of profit? Are we angry at a vulnerable migrant worker, at an asylum seeker with a small living allowance? Are they our enemies? Are they the people who destroyed our industries? Are they the people who have failed since 1960 to build enough social housing? Are they our enemies? Are they our oppressors? No, they are not. We know who our oppressors are. We are all being mugged off. We are all being shafted. We are being shafted by those energy companies who rip us off. We are being shafted by dodgy landlords. We are being shafted by exploitative bosses. We are being shafted by politicians who refuse to invest in working class communities, who play the game of division because they have no solutions for working class people in Britain. They only have scapegoats. They've always only had scapegoats. Whether it was Jewish people fleeing the pogroms in Eastern Europe, whether it was the Irish, whether it was the West Indians, whether it was the South Asians, and whether it's the asylum seekers now. That is the game they play. So do not think that when reform fall on their own sword and fail to fix the problems in Britain, do not think that when they cut migration, that people will start to get together and things will get better. Because they will find a new target. It will be Muslims and multiculturalism. It will be the established minority communities. We cannot rely on Westminster. We have to organize for ourselves. So I implore you, outside of this city in the northeast of England, in Wales, in parts of Yorkshire, minority communities are living in fear. We all have a duty to go and support those people. We have a duty to build connections in those working class communities, those mining communities, those deprived seaside towns. We have a duty and a responsibility. If you want to make asylum seekers feel safer, we cannot just preach to the converted. We have plenty of priests. We cannot just preach to the choir. We have to go out there and make the argument. Do not shy away from the arguments around the asylum system. Address it head on and address tax avoidance and address housing and address the everyday problems that our communities face. We have just set up a new anti-racist monitoring organization called Radar, reporting and documenting acts of racism. You can check out our website. If you have been a victim of racism, you can report it. We will be documenting racism across the country. We will be putting pressure on authorities. We will be putting pressure on the media to report on racism because we are doing it for ourselves. We are independently funded. We are organizing for ourselves. And we also need to defend communities at risk of violence. On the 27th of September, UKIP, what remains of UKIP, are calling for mass deportations in Newcastle. Tommy Robinson will be in Newcastle as well. The Northeast is one of the most geographically isolated regions in Britain. The ethnic minority communities have asked that we support them. So please make an effort to support our brothers and sisters in the Northeast of England. Please make an effort to get out of London and go to these regions and provide solidarity. A lot of people feel pessimistic right now. A lot of people feel there is no hope. I do not believe there is no hope. I believe there is an anti-racist majority in this country. And as the late and great Malcolm X said, we are not outnumbered, we are out-organized. And that's what it comes down to. Who's better organized, us or them? Solidarity.
Taj Ali, everybody! I would now like to invite the entire Stop Trump team onto the stage. Please give a massive round of applause to all of the speakers that you saw today. There is a protest to make them pay to get money off tech oligarchs. That's happening on the 20th of September, this Saturday. I would now like to hand you over to one of the people who has put this whole thing together and organised it. Please give
Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I am so, so grateful that we have shown our power today. Because we are here today, Donald Trump couldn't show his face in London. We scared him away. And what's that saying? They're saying taco, right? Trump always chickens out. And he chickened out of London today because of us. Because of us. Now, I know a lot of you see a lot of the work I do. That's because I put myself out there on TV and you see my face. But often I get praised for things that the whole friggin' movement is doing, right? So I wanted to make it clear that we're a movement, we're a team. I never do any of this on my own. I'm never alone when I'm in front of the camera. I'm always speaking up for every decent person in this country. Every decent person who rejects the hatred. And today is only the beginning of this movement because we have to keep going. The far right, they are trying to scare us. They're trying to scare us. And I've seen a study, but I didn't need to see that study. We know that they're scaring us, that they're scaring brown and black people in this country, that they're frightened of being attacked. And that makes me so angry. And so I'm telling you today, if you're white and British, you stand up for migrants, you use your voice, you use it, because this is our country. This is our country, and we don't want Trump, we don't want Tommy, we don't want Farage, we don't want the far right. Thank you so much for being here today. We've got amazing ringlet to play us out. Sign up on the website, keep coming out. And we're going to build this movement. Thank you so much. Solidarity. Oh, migrants welcome, Trump fuck off. 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 Go ahead. Hi everyone, how are we doing? Yeah. My name is Ringlet. I'm going to be finishing us off with a song tonight. I actually grew up in the US and I was living in New York during Trump's first election in 2016. And I really witnessed firsthand what we're witnessing here today, which is how we can turn despair and grief and anger into solidarity and unity. And that's what we need more than ever. So thank you. This is a song I wrote called Power. Where are we going to?
And no, we did not sound it.
Okay, so we are at the end of what has been a really amazing day of a whole lot of different people. So I've just asked somebody from the crowd who's been watching all of these quite emotional, quite powerful speeches. Do you want to tell me, what did you think of all that?
I thought it was incredible. And as I'm in the US part-time at the moment, I was really inspired that we could get this many people out this quickly. Because this is what needs to happen in the US, and it just doesn't.
So you're not finding that this level of people are coming out on the streets in the United States?
No, unfortunately, it's very, very sad.
So how did it make you feel to sort of see the British people on the streets?
Fantastic. I'm a dual citizen, however long that lasts. And it made me proud and inspired, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
So one of the key themes that I was hearing in there was about getting organized. And it was almost, in some ways, I think, more of a reflection upon what's happening now in Britain, as opposed to Trump in a way. And it was almost I heard in there a sort of call to move forward in what's happening in the UK. How does that resonate with you?
It resonates actually quite a lot because, all right, I'm going right there.
The surge is an international movement.
We don't really
The surge is an international movement.
Know how to be in community in the same way. There's an awful lot of purity discourse. There's an awful lot of, oh, well, I want to be with
the surge is an international movement, and there are more than 30 cities that are taking place.
I think we have known that, but yeah, I'm calling this as a problem of whiteness, and I'm calling this as a problem of whiteness on the left. You know.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that perspective with us. Go well.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Solidarity. Solidarity was a word that we heard an awful lot today. How are you doing? We're over here, Corey. Yeah? Getting ourselves organized here at the end of a very long march. So those speeches were, I think I've never heard quite so many speeches in a row at a march. What were you hearing out of that?
Well, for one, I was quite impressed with the big names that showed up today, people who really knew what they were talking about on the matter. And I think what struck of me is people connecting the dots and seeing the intersections between all these issues, and people realizing in Britain that what's happening in the US with Trump is not necessarily happening in a silo. We're seeing parallels here in the UK with the far-right movement. So that was very interesting for me to see all these people connecting these dots and creating this coalition.
Yes, it felt, as I was mentioning to the woman we were just speaking with, it really felt to me like this is not just about Trump not welcome. That's a sort of singular message. Trump's here for a couple of days and there's a pushback against that. But there was a call for a lot more deeper work. And I think one of the people said is that the racists don't outnumber us, but they out-organize us.
This is something that I've noticed as well, going to various different actions, is once people are mobilized, there's a huge turnout. I was quite impressed today. At the beginning of the march, it looked a bit slower. And as the day went on, I think the turnout was quite large. It felt like being in a huge crowd of people who have woken up to this and want to take action.
Well, we thank you very much for having been part of the live stream. These are always quite technically challenging events that we do, trying to deal with signals and people everywhere. So we appreciate you sticking with us. We really enjoyed sharing, as we say at Real Media, the view from below. We hope you enjoyed seeing what people were doing, seeing what people were bringing, and taking this whole issue of what does it mean to have Donald Trump at a second state visit, hearing all these different perspectives and then able to make up your own minds what you feel about it. Because the most important thing for us is that we're sharing different ways of thinking and being and doing.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better as well. And I hope with this view from below, you were able to hear people's views from a range of different topics, from the Palestine action to Palestine activists to Jewish movements to climate. There was so much.
Yeah, there was the Jewish woman who was calling for the election of the Muslim mayor who's running for a candidate in New York. You know, we're seeing some really interesting crossovers happening. And I think we maybe have seen the birth of something here that might carry on well beyond Donald Trump's visit. So thank you for being with us, Corey.
Thank you, Suzanne. And thank you all who are watching.
Yeah, absolutely. A huge thank to the rest of our crew as well, because this sort of thing never happens without a whole bunch of people from the other side of the camera. So huge thank you to everybody at Real Media who helped make this happen. Have a great evening.
The surge is an international movement, and there are more than 30 cities that are taking place in this action today, outside of US embassies and US buildings. This is a 24-hour event. We started yesterday at 6 o'clock with an opening ceremony. Our main action today was encircling the embassy, because we all know that the US is not only complicit in this genocide, but they are funding it, they are supporting it.
The reason they support Zionism is because it's in their interest. They know that if Palestine were to win, it will destroy the entire setup of the Middle East, of all these tyrannies, all these dictators that they invented.
Yeah, Palestine, can you see us? We are here. Yeah, Palestine, can you hear us? We are here.
It's almost like Palestine has become the epicenter. It encompasses every single kind of wrongdoing. And sometimes I feel that we have hope here, that maybe Palestine is going to make us all freer.
This is so much bigger than Palestine. They need to crush us, and that is why they're using the Palestinian movement as an example of how to ban protests, how to restrict democratic rights, how to punish people for doing politics, how to punish people for their thought.
Today, the Met Police have put themselves to shame yet again. Not only are they here watching us from across the road, but they arrested 10 young people today for simply stepping into the road to call for an end to genocide. This is common sense. We're not asking for much. Like, stop breaking international law.
The resolution of what happens with this issue with Palestine will affect everything if you want to change the world. It will inspire people all over the world who have any grievance about the system.
We're all here, all our causes united. We had people from the climate movement, we had people from the anti-racist, anti-fascist movement, we had the Latinos here, we had the anti-Zionist Jews here, we had everyone just came in together, and it was a massive show of solidarity.
We've been here now for almost 7 months. It's a 24-hour presence. There are people who don't want us to be here, and we have encountered some of those. But on the other hand, actually, most of the people living in the area, the passers-by, people working in the shops, they're with us. People come interested in learning more about Palestine, and that is our main function here. We have weekly films also to expose what is going on in Palestine, but also to link Palestine with the planet, really.
The song Weapons of Hate was love. The song Weapons of Hate was love. The song Weapons of Hate was love. Shut down factories that murder from above.
That is the idea of the surge, is bringing all our movements together and trying to understand that the root cause of all of our suffering is the same. So why don't we come together and fight that together? And that's the unity that we were looking for.